Okay.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Jim Dill. I'm the chair of the ACF committee, and it's May 13th, and I'd like to welcome everybody here for our session today. And while we're waiting for others to join us, I will go over today's schedule for those of you that are in the waiting room so you know what's happening in the rest of the committee. We're starting out with a public hearing on LD 1690. We will not have the work session today. We will have that on Tuesday. Then we'll have the discussion on the Wild Blueberry Commission. And then that will be followed by work sessions on LD 471, LD 1075, and LD 1611. LD 808 and LD 1594 will remain on the table because we're waiting to see the governor's budget to see how that may impact some of our decisions on these two bills. And then I believe there will be a reconsideration of LD 574. So with that, we will go ahead and start introductions, and hopefully my co-chair, who was just on a meeting with me, will join us, as well as Senator Black, and see if we can see his smiling face this morning. Cheryl.
Yeah, Senator Black, I'm sending you a new link. If you would log out, and I just sent it to your legislative email. Try that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, with that, we'll do introductions. So I'll start with Representative Hall. Can you hear me, Representative Hall? Well, it's going to be one of those days.
I guess.
I'm having a little crash morning. Morning, Representative Randy Huff from Wilt, District 114, Southern Franklin County.
Okay, we're having real trouble with your voice there. You're breaking up, Representative Hall, so hopefully it will smooth out as we move on. Next is Senator Maxman.
Hi there, I'm Chloe Maxman. I represent Senate District 13, which is all of Lincoln County, except for Dresden, plus Washington and Windsor.
Representative Landry.
Good morning, Representative Scott Landry. I live in Farmington and represent District 113. That includes Farmington and New Sharon.
Representative Underwood.
I'm Representative Joseph Underwood, District 147 in Presque Isle. Good morning, everyone.
Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am Bill Pluker. I come from House District 95, which is Warren, Hope, Appleton, and part of Union. Thank you.
Representative Bernard.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Bernard. I represent District 149, which is Caribou, Westmanland, and New Sweden. We have a lovely sunny day up here, and the farmers are on the ground.
Representative Gifford.
Good morning. I'm Representative Gifford. I represent District 142. I live in Lincoln, and I represent 7 little towns in this area.
Representative Schofield.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Schofield, and I represent House District 112. I live in the town of Weld, and I represent 17 towns and townships in Franklin and Somerset counties. And currently this morning, I'm at beautiful Sebago Lake State Park, where it's sunny but cool. So have a good morning, everyone.
House Chair Representative O'Neill.
Morning. My name is Maggie O'Neill, and I represent House District 15, which is in Saco.
And Senator Black.
I apologize. I am not having very good luck getting my video going, but I'm still trying to. But somebody already commented they like the screen better this way. So Senator Black, representing Senate District 17, which is all of Franklin County and 4 towns in Kennebec.
Unfortunately, that's okay till we need to vote, and we have to see your smiling face for you to vote. So, okay. As I mentioned, I'm Jim Dill. I represent Senate District number 5, which is Northern Penobscot County. And I see that Representative Osher just joined us. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Representative.
Hi, I'm Lori Osher. Good morning. I represent District 123. That's most of Orono, the home of the University of Maine.
And Cheryl McGowan is the clerk. and Karen Netto is our analyst. And we do have a public hearing and several work sessions as well as a discussion today. So just remember to remain muted until you're ready to ask a question through the chair. Be respectful, please, at all times. And the folks testifying, the way we'll do this is we'll start out with the bill sponsor, any other legislators, then the departments, followed by individuals testifying either in favor, against, or neither for nor against, and you'll have a 3-minute clock, at which time when it goes off, if you do not hear it or if you do either way, I will let you know that 3 minutes is up and you will have a sentence or two to finish up. So with that, Representative O'Neill, anything you want to add? No? You good? Okay. I will start the public hearing on LD 1690. Resolve to modify the deed for a parcel of property in the town of Carabasset Valley. And I believe that is Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize again. I'm continuing to try to get my video working, but it seems to no avail. Good morning, Senator Dale, Representative O'Neill, and members of the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. I am Senator Russell Black, and I represent Senate District 17. I am here today to present LD 1690, a resolve to modify the deed for a parcel property in the town of Carabasset Valley. This resolve amends the deed transferring land from the state to the town of Carabasset Valley to remove the prohibition against using the land for commercial purpose. The current lot size is 1,233 acres. This deed change is only to the 25 acres that is already being developed and would leave 1,178 acres still undeveloped. I was contacted by the town of Carabasset Valley to put this legislation in to change the deed, as the town of Sugarloaf are working on significant infrastructure projects at the town owned by Sugarloaf Outdoor Center, which the town leases to Sugarloaf. The town reached out to the Bureau of Parks and Public Lands about this project, and the Bureau advised the town to seek clarification on the deed from the legislature. I want to be clear, I have heard from some folks that asking that this deed change would allow the project to go forward between the town and Sugarloaf. The answer is no. Any projects that take place at the Sugarloaf Outdoor Center would still need to follow the town's approval process and be approved by the residents. The town manager of Carabasset Valley, Dave Cotto, will be testifying and explain the changes to this deed needed and the details of the project that the town and Sugarloaf are planning. In closing, the town of Carabasset Valley and Sugarloaf have done a great job building a tourism-based economy and respecting the lands. I ask the committee to work with them and support this deed change. Thank you. And we have had this same piece of property before us several times in the past. Just 2 years ago, we had to modify and do deed restriction changes for the when they expanded the mountain biking to allow overnight camping in the existing parking lots around the outdoor center, which there's quite a significant area of parking in that area. And this would be the third time this has come before us for clarification. So that's why we're asking to move forward with this proposal. I would try to answer any questions, but the town manager and the department are following behind me, and they are the experts on this. So,
are there any questions? Seeing none. Cheryl, would you let in William Patterson, please? And then that's followed by David Cotta and Tom Butler. Morning, Mr. Patterson.
Morning. Can you hear and see me okay?
We can. Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Certainly. My name is Bill Patterson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Parks and Lands.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and honorable members of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. My name is Bill Patterson, and I am the Deputy Director of the Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands. I'm speaking neither for nor against LD 1690 on behalf of the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. The bill would amend the deed transferring public reserve land from the state to the town of Carabasset Valley by removing the prohibition against using a portion of that land for a commercial purpose. The deed to the town-owned 1,203 acre lot is subject to restrictive covenants required by the legislature when the state conveyed the lot to the town in 2000, with subsequent deed amendments authorized by the legislature in 2015 and 2019. LD 1690 pertains to only a 25 acre portion of the parcel on which the town is permitted to develop municipal outdoor recreation facilities. In March of 2021, the Carabasset Valley Town Manager asked the Bureau whether several potential improvements on the 25 acre parcel would be allowed under the deed restrictions. The stated intent of these improvements is to enhance and create more outdoor activities at the Sugarloaf Outdoor Center. The Bureau understands the proposed improvements to be within a reasonable definition of outdoor recreation, as required within the designated 25 acre footprint for municipal recreational development. However, the Bureau notes that existing or potential future management agreements initiated by the town might test the definition of commercial development if some of the new outdoor recreational uses are administered by a for-profit entity. For this reason, the Bureau advised the town the deed would require amendment if they wish to contract commercial management of any new municipally owned facilities. While the department is generally in support of 1690, of LD 1690, there are several factors that we encourage the committee to consider. First, the deed has already been amended twice by the legislature in the last 6 years, and it is important for all those involved to establish a clear, enforceable deed restrictions that will not require continued amendment. Second, the land was originally sold by the state of Maine at fair market value with a value based on an appraisal. The committee should consider whether the proposed amendment significantly changes that valuation and if additional compensation to the state should be required or waived. Finally, given the importance of this resource to the local community, the committee should consider requiring the town to afford the opportunity for public input on new development as a replacement for the commercial use limitations on the 25 acres. The Bureau's role is to monitor and enforce these deed restrictions, and we would like them to be clear and enforceable. I would be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Representative Schofield.
Thank you, Senator Dale. Good morning, Mr. Patterson. I think those are very good thoughts you just presented to us. And as you noted, and we have noted as well, this is not the first time that we have dealt with amending the deed restrictions of these parcels. Do you see a way forward that we could somehow eliminate this repeated need to come back to the legislature if there are further needs that arise in that area? Do you have any thoughts on that? Thank you.
Sure. One of the did discuss this a number of times with Dave Coda, the town manager, and we're both of the mind, the department's of the mind that we'd like to get this clear and enforceable and something that can be stable. And so that was I think the idea of striking the commercial use language. There are a lot of gray areas that we don't want to be involved in interpreting. So I think it's getting to a fairly straightforward language the way it is written. But it would, I think it would be, I'm glad to see that the work session's been moved to next week. We can take a careful look at this and look for any additional potential gray areas that we might want to be sure to cover.
So if I could follow up, Senator Dill?
Yes.
So are you more or less prepared to come back to the work session with a proposal that would codify this going forward, and so that we don't need to do this, some sort of language that will keep this from be a reoccurring situation that would satisfy both the Bureau's intent as well as the town? You think you'll be able to do that?
Sure, and we're definitely prepared to do that. We'll make it a highest priority before Tuesday to work on this. There are some other options that aren't included this. For instance, there could be some sort of swap. All the deed restrictions could be released on these 25 acres or put into some very minimalistic. That would require a little bit of compensation. So maybe there's a piece of land the town could trade. That would be one way to really prevent this from, continuing to bubble up.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. Thank you, sir.
Representative Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you help me understand? I remember going over some of this in the 129th. What did we change in the deed in the 129th?
Sure, and Dave Cota could speak to that as well. There were two changes. I think the most recent one was to allow for overnight camping. So mountain bikers were up there and they've got their campers, and while there was camping allowed on the property, it didn't cover people who wanted to camp in their cars in the parking lot. So I believe that's what the 129th covered. And in 2015, there was a bill that enabled a nonprofit, or at least a community-oriented entity, to have a 2-acre lease to run public benefit camps there.
And is that nonprofit currently situated up there?
Why don't we defer that to Dave Cota? He's more familiar, and perhaps he could answer that when he's on.
And a final question, Mr. Chair. So this language that we're repealing has been in it since the original deed was transferred. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Landry.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Good morning, Mr. Patterson. You mentioned reappraising the property and adjusting the premium. Is that a normal procedure on a piece of property that the state would sell to an entity?
Certainly, any sale would be subject to an appraisal, and so that would be normal. We don't often reopen deeds. I mean, this is a fairly unique case, and so question. I think the previous two amendments were done without any compensation because I think the legislature likely considered them very minimal and public benefits. But if this were a more significant allowance for commercial use on 25 acres. It would be advisable for the committee to either specifically waive that or require that any loosening of those be accounted for with an appraisal and transaction there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony this morning, and I will move over to Dave Cota. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Chairman, Senator Dill, and Representative O'Neill, my name is Dave Cota. I'm the town manager of Carabasset Valley. I was the town manager back in the year 2000 when this land was acquired by the town, so I've got a fairly good knowledge of this. I've got 3 minutes, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. I think in the testimony that I sent you, there's a map that is part of the testimony, and it shows the entire town, and it shows this lot. This lot is 1,203 acres that the town purchased in the year 2000. Adjacent to it is the original town lot, which is 903 acres. So together, there's 2,100 acres there. Since the time of this purchase, I just want to make you aware, the state has acquired over 9,000 acres in our community that we no longer receive taxes from. And we were not opposed to it. In fact, this is the Crocker Mountain Conservation Project that we were very supportive of it, including financially. So there's been, we're a recreation community, we understand that. So again, the state owns a lot of land. On that map, you'll see another 400-acre lot that is currently owned by the state. So all we're asking for is to be able to allow some additional commercial activity on this 25 acres of designated land. Remember, this lot combined with the town lot, he's got over 2,100 acres in addition to all of the land that I just spoke of. In addition to that, thousands of acres abutting the town of Carabasset Valley in the Bigelow Preserve. So there's a great deal of public land in and around Carabasset Valley. So since the year 2000, when we purchased this land, we've made substantial investments in what is now called the Sugarloaf Outdoor Center, which is owned by the town and is leased to Sugarloaf. We've leased it to Sugarloaf for over 30 years. It is developing not only into a prominent Nordic ski facility, but it also is probably the most prominent mountain bike destination in Maine. So we need to be able to develop some modest additional commercial activity to support that. We're trying to expand our presence as a four-season resort area, as many communities are trying to do. There could be outdoor concerts there if we put a roof over the skating rink. There are currently a lot of large events there. There are, and with that, particularly with these mountain bike events and Nordic ski events, there's retail activity going on outside of the building now to support all of additional recreation. There's probably much more outdoor recreation now than when we purchased the lot, which in the deed amendments called for the property must remain open, available, and use and enjoyment by the public at large, and use of the property must be dedicated for purposes of public outdoor recreation. Well, we've greatly enhanced that. And I guess I would make that argument in terms of any restitution that the state would be looking for. We've really improved what was the intent of that purchase in the first place. We spent over $1 million just in the building facilities, and well over $1 million on trail improvements. So we've really made a big commitment. So we do want to continue to lease the lot to Sugarloaf. We don't want to run the outdoor center, and it's becoming very important and more important all the time. And again, we're adding to the outdoor recreation experience here in Carabasset Valley. And has been said, this is the third time we've had to come in front of this committee. Again, all we're asking, what I think is reasonable, is only to develop that 25-acre envelope. We've only developed 7 acres. I don't see a lot more happening there in terms of additional development acreage. But it seems with all this public land, including the town's public lot adjacent to it, that is reasonable to ask that be allowed more commercial development. We need it to support the outdoor recreation that we have there. And what was said, I just want to reiterate this, is the fact that anything going forward, we have thorough public processes. We're a very progressive community. Anything we do in this town is well vetted with our citizenry. So if there is any additional commercial activity there, it will be very well vetted with all of our citizens. And we're, we pride ourselves on that. So we just think that it's time that, a lot has happened since the year 2000 when we purchased this lot. And moving forward, we think that this is reasonable to ask that these prohibitions be eliminated. Thank you very much. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions? Let's see. First is Representative Landry. No? Representative Schofield.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Good morning, Mr. Cota. Nice to see you again. You mentioned vetting process going forward. Anything that might occur on this property would be transparent and through the process. Could you explain what the process would be? I understand there are some concerns about lighting, future possible lighting of trails or that sort of thing. If that were to be proposed, could you tell us a little bit about the process that would be involved in order for that to occur? Thank you.
Thank you. What would happen in that case is that obviously there would, at the very least, there would be public hearings. If there was anything very controversial, and there may be a component of what's being proposed now that might be controversial, that there would be a very thorough public hearing process. In addition to that, there may even be surveys. I mean, 90% of the folks that own property in Carabasset Valley don't live here. So we have really reached out to our second homeowners with an annual newsletter that is very highly regarded and appreciated. Probably we would reach out to them with that process. There may be a survey involved with that because we do care about all of our non-resident taxpayers. So, and then ultimately, at the end of the day, the voters of the town would decide if there's going to be a collaborative project. It would have to be approved by the voters of the town. So there'd be a very thorough process.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much, Dave. Thank you.
Representative Underwood.
Good morning, Mr. Coda. How much valuation will be added to the town of Carabasset Valley? Taxes specifically.
With this project, sir?
Yes.
I don't believe there'd be anything. The town owns all the facilities there. These are all, we don't tax ourselves, obviously. So this is a very unique town. We do these amazing collaborations. The town of Carabasset Valley owns Sugarloaf Golf Course, one of the premier golf courses in the state, and we lease it to Sugarloaf. We own the public lot and the outdoor center, and we lease it to Sugarloaf. You'll never see, and it's a good thing, and it has been very beneficial. We're up here, sort of in the middle of nowhere. We're a destination resort. We have to provide amenities for people to want to come here. So there's no tax benefit in having increased commercial activity on this lot. The town could probably get a little bit of revenue from an increased lease payment, but quite frankly, that is way overshadowed by the investments that the town is making in the public lot itself. We make our return on investment, sir, by providing good quality recreational amenities, and then the taxes on all these second homes are our rate of return on investment that we pretty much reinvest with additional recreation amenities. And this has been an incredibly successful model for years here in this community.
A follow-up question.
Sure.
Is it possible that somewhere down the road, if this problem develops again, that do a land swap or an outright sale to the entity that's leasing Carabasset Valley, the mountain?
Well, I guess that's a question to me. I guess I would make an argument that the town of Carabasset Valley already has more state land in its borders than probably most any other town in the state of Maine. Again, I think the intent when we bought this property was to continue to allow recreational opportunities on this lot for the enjoyment. It says right in the deed. The covenants is the property must remain open and available for use and enjoyment of the public at large. Use of the property must be dedicated for purposes of public outdoor recreation. We have so much enhanced that. We have so many more people using this lot. I think if the intent was to provide additional recreation opportunities for the public, we have really reached out and done that. And I would argue that is a very strong point to be made in terms of asking for additional land from the town for the state that already owns thousands of acres in our community.
Thank you very much.
Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you help me understand, is the Adaptive Outdoor Education Center located near these 25 acres? And then the other question was, could you kind of describe what is the current infrastructure that's on this 25 acres?
Yeah, it's the facility. Let me answer your first question, sir. Your first question, the Adaptive Outdoor Education Center, which was a nonprofit, which we're very proud of. We were able, because we went back to the legislature to get a deed amendment to allow them to lease 2 acres, and they built this beautiful facility. And what they do is they run a lot of programs for people that have certain physical needs and mental needs. And we're very proud to have them in our communities. And yes, they're going strong. In fact, they're building a brand new facility in Brunswick. The gentleman, the couple that's behind this, have devoted their lives, recent lives to this, and it's an amazing thing that they're doing. Again, we're very proud of it, but it's something that I think everybody should be proud of. But it's not within that 25-acre envelope. It's down towards Route 27, sir. To answer, I'm trying to remember what your second question is. My apologies.
Could you describe the infrastructure that currently exists on this 25 acres?
Yes, thank you. So what is involved there now is that there is a approximate 67,000 square foot outdoor recreation center, a lodge that was expanded after the town purchased this lot. It includes the Nordic. I'm sorry.
You said 67,000. Did you mean
Oh,
6,700?
6,700. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Facility. So it's a large facility with several outbuildings, and it includes this wonderful outdoor skating rink that we're actually giving serious thought to putting a roof over. Another point to be made on the commercial side of this is that, and there's hundreds of people have weddings there over the years. It's an iconic, the idyllic setting, looking up at the mountain. It's a beautiful spot. Point being that if we put a roof over their skating rink, they're already having a lot of weddings there. This would be an amazing outdoor venue, weatherproof. But that's a commercial use. Another reason why we'd like to see a change, if possible, in the deed covenants is here. But the facility is the lodge itself, the outdoor skating rink, and some outbuildings, sir.
And
Nordic ski trails. Yeah.
Does the town own the buildings, or does
Yes.
Sugarloaf Mountain Corporation own
Yeah,
the
the
buildings?
town owns the lot and all of the buildings, sir.
And they operate them.
And they operate. We don't want to operate an outdoor center, and operate weddings and other enterprises. Again, they're very important to the community, as is Sugarloaf. And
do the people who are getting married or who are using the lodge, do they make the payments to the Sugarloaf Mountain Corporation, or they make payments to the town?
They make payments to the Sugarloaf, to Sugarloaf, and we get a lease fee from Sugarloaf. It doesn't begin to pay for all the improvements we've made, but again, it's Sugarloaf's important to us, and I don't think they're making a ton of money there, no. But it's important that we have that facility. It's again, they have 400 or 500 Nordic ski passes there every year that people are buying it, and so there's and again, all these second homeowners, there's a lot of appreciation for the Sugarloaf Outdoor Center all over the state, and I'm sure you may have heard from some of those folks.
And a final question, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Sure.
And I see in your testimony you want to develop a 4-season resort destination community, and could you try to describe to me what that means in your mind?
Well, I mean, we've come a long way in recent years, especially with the mountain bike trail development. I mean, we've spent, I think, close to $800,000 to $900,000 building mountain bike trails in this community. So we've really enhanced the summer recreation here. That in turn has been one more reason for people to buy a second home here. I've always told people, yes, the tourism is huge here, is big here. Don't get me wrong, Western Mountains and what we have here, but what drives the train here is the second home development that we have here, and it provides employment for all over this county, all kinds of trades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're building homes in Carrabassett Valley. So I've always told people it's the second homes that are really driving the economy here.
Okay, I might have misunderstood. So you're not looking at building that community on these 25 acres in terms of building condos or?
No, we can't. Residential development is prohibited. We have no problem with all of the rest of the prohibitions that are listed that you can see in the bill. The only thing we would like change is just the commercial use in that 25-acre envelope, because times have changed, quite frankly. And
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Representative Schofield.
Thank you, Senator Dill. I think that it's difficult for people to imagine the significance of what the town has done in that area over the last few years, and how important it is not only for the town, but also the entire county, the entire area. The economic boom that has provided is enormous. And so if you could comment on that, Dave. And one other thing, a year or so ago, last session, we fixed the thing so that you could have camping at the mountain bike trailhead in the parking lot. And could you comment on that as well? How successful that's been, or how that's moved forward? So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schofield. Yeah, the camping. So what was previously prohibited in these deed covenants, this is another example, was the ability to be able for people to camp in their vehicles. Well, we all know, again, another dramatic change since the year 2000. I mean, we all know the Sprinter vans now, these conversion vans. That's what people are buying now. If I could afford $150,000, I might buy one myself. But having said that, we're seeing a lot of those, and mountain bike folks and the people that want to use the facilities are camping inside these self-contained units. They were previously not allowed as the deed restrictions here. So that's what was changed. I do regarding a campground. This is important to note, and came out of that legislative session that you're talking about, Representative Schofield, was that if we do develop a campground there, and we have not at this point, that it has to be approved by the Bureau of Public Lands. They have to approve the plans. So that's in place right now. But as far as the economic development piece, I think I've pretty well explained it. But I mean, we're huge in terms of the whole county. Plumbers, electricians, everybody's coming from out of town to work in Carrabassett Valley, because we certainly don't have the tradespeople here to support what's going on here. And again, they have to drive by in Farmington. They have to drive by the gas station. I mean, people are coming to Sugarloaf, not just for skiing anymore, but for all the recreational amenities, including the mountain bike, including the use of the outdoor center. I mean, never used to see people in the parking lot in the outdoor center in the summertime. Now you come on weekends, the parking lot's full. And I think it's a credit to the progressive nature of the town and trying to move forward and in the right way. We have a great planning board, a planning process, and we do things right here. So anything we do in that outdoor center lot will be done right. We have the process in place to do it.
Thank you for explaining that stupendous outdoor recreational potential that you have up there. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Black.
Mr. Chair, would you allow me a couple clarification questions?
Yes, sir.
Dave, thanks for being here. I guess two things to clarify. The town already owns this. They're not asking to purchase this. The town already owns this. They own the facility. They own the lodge, the skating ring. Is that correct?
Yes, and we've spent literally millions further developing it. That's correct, for additional recreation opportunities.
So you're not asking to purchase anything. You already own it. And the parking lots are already, and maybe you could give us some idea of what the size of the parking lots that are already there.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you that 2 acres or in the area, the parking lot that's there now. There's actually 2. There's a larger one, and then when we redid the building a number of years ago, we switched things around. So we have a stadium area that meets amalgamated Nordic skiing standards. So we had to move the parking lots around. Long story short, and but that new parking lot is, I'm going to guess it's about 2 acres, sir. And again, you're right, all of this land is owned, and we purchased it from the state. Interesting story. I know you probably got a lot of time here, but an interesting story. When the town the town is still young. The town was actually incorporated in 1972, and with it came the town's 930-acre public lot. Interestingly enough, the legislature passed legislation immediately thereafter, indicating that any annexation by municipalities, that the public lot that goes with the unorganized territory, the land stays with the state, interestingly enough. So 2 years later, in 1974, when the town annexed what was then Crockertown Township to become part of Carrabassett Valley, the state retained that state lot, the 1,203 acres. We didn't automatically acquire it because of the fact that we annexed that township. There were 3 people living in the township at the time. They all voted for it. But having said that, so that's a little side story. So we didn't own it. We had to pay for it, and which is of course what we did. In the year 2000, we kept making, we were looking at a lot of additional potential improvements, and we wanted to own it. So I think it just made sense for everyone.
Mr. Chair, one more follow-up, if I could.
Yep.
So what is happening on that 7 or 8 acres or whatever it is of the 23 acres? Would you would consider that commercial operation already? Am I correct in saying that?
Well, yes. I mean, yes, to answer your question. But but in all fairness, the current deed allows for commercial use, except in that exception being those uses presently made of the outdoor and touring center located on the property may continue. And that's what was in place the year 2000. Well, again, things have changed since the year 2000, and there is a need for additional commercial activity to support what's going on there. So to answer your question, yes, there's commercial activity going on down there. We'd like to see more in the way of, concerts. And we went to the Bureau of Public Lands, and and I'd been working with Bill, and they didn't seem to have any use for any of any use issues with the property in terms of what Sugarloaf might be proposing. But they looked at this commercial use thing and said, I don't know, that's kind of a gray area. It may be conflicting with your with the current restrictions in our lease. This is why we're here today. And I want to comment. It's been great working with Bill Patterson, and so I think we've tried to come up with something that's reasonable to allow additional commercial use there, again, to support what we have there, and also to support the intent of the legislation.
Thank you.
Representative Landry.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Good morning, David. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good to see you. Couple of questions. I've been getting a lot of emails that I'm sure you're aware about the potential tubing park that they're talking about in this area. Could you speak to that? What it would entail, how much space, what the opposition is, or why the opposition is?
It's a great question, and one that certainly we're going to have a very thorough public process to deal with, but that should be our issue here. And we really need to try to get this commercial thing straightened out so that we're in a position to do that. So Sugarloaf has made a proposal to us for a collaborative proposal. They would pay some of it, and the town would pay a large part of it. And Tom Butler is going to speak to Sugarloaf here in a minute. And having said that, one of the roof over the skating rink, a lighted snowshoe trail, snowmaking for cross-country skiing, which with climate change we need. There are now 2 other venues in Maine that have snowmaking on their Nordic ski system. If we're going to stay in this, and we are a premier Nordic ski center, we need to have snowmaking. And yes, the tubing park. So the tubing park would attract young folks, and there is no question surfacing a lot of opposition to it in our community. But we just got this proposal. I can tell you, I have no idea whether or not that's going to be accepted by the town or not, quite frankly. But I can assure you that we're going to have a very public process as this whole proposal moves forward. And everybody will have an opportunity to speak. And at the end of the day, the voters of the community will decide whether or not this is a good idea. So all the folks that have issued emails, and I know some of them, and I completely understand their concerns and valid points, but we will have a very thorough public process. It shouldn't be tied into this legislation. We've got other commercial activity going on there now that is presenting a problem. My concern is that some of the folks that are in opposition to this LD 16, whatever it is, excuse me, are trying to use this to sort of stop the tubing park. And I think that's the wrong approach. Again, the approach is let's have a very thorough town discussion about this.
Very good. I definitely agree with you there. And as far as the economy to the county, it's incredible how much business it brings to Farmington.
Yep.
It sometimes takes me half an hour to get a coffee in the morning because everyone's going up to the loaf. Thank you very much.
Traffic jams up here, thank God.
Yeah.
Representative Underwood.
Hi, Mr. Cota. Please give us a good commercial. Where are you located, and how would I get to your the Carabasset Valley. If I've never been there, I've been up 302 several times, but how do I get to Carabasset Valley from, say, Maine, the main turnpike?
From the county, sir?
Yes.
The Crown of Maine. I think you would come down the interstate, probably would get off. My best guess with you, and I would think you would get off in Newport, sir. And you would, from Newport, you would go to Skowhegan.
Route 2, probably. Okay.
Yeah, Route 2. You would pick up Route 2 and go to Skowhegan, and then to North Anson, and to Anson, to Kingfield, sir, and then up to Carabasset. We're about 10 miles north of Kingfield.
Okay,
We're not in the middle of, we're in the middle of kind of, I won't say nowhere. We have a beautiful area up here, but I think we're 35 miles north of Farmington also, where Representative Landry lives.
And
maybe 45 miles.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Representative Landry.
Just a comment to Representative Underwood. He should come through Farmington, stop and spend some money here instead of going up through Anson.
Thank you.
All right, so much for our commercials for today. Our commercial sponsors. Any other questions? Seeing none, I thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next is Tom Butler.
Thank you very much. Senator Dale, Representative O'Neill, members of the Legislative Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry Committee. My name is Tom Butler. I serve as the Vice President of Skier Services at Sugarloaf. And I'm submitting testimony. I submitted written testimony as well in favor of LD 1690 on behalf of Sugarloaf Mountain Corporation. Dave and Senator Black have really kind of said it all, and I don't want to just kind of read out my written testimony or take too much of your time. I just really wanted to comment on that Sugarloaf is really, we're really blessed to have the relationship that we do with the town of Carabasset Valley, and that relationship and the collaboration and cooperation over the years has been spectacular. So for the past 30 years that we've been involved with the Sugarloaf Outdoor Center, when we first started managing it, it started off mostly just Nordic skiing, and there was some ice skating. And then as kind of tourism has really picked up, I mean, most recently, as Dave and others have commented about the growth and real surge in mountain biking, it has turned into a really true four-season destination. And we're very proud of that. My role, our role at Sugarloaf to help the Outdoor Center really is to create and promote family-oriented outdoor activities. And whether it's mountain biking, Nordic skiing, to join people together at weddings, it really is a very vibrant place. And we see this legislation as an opportunity to create a sound foundation, if you will, to make sure that we can continue on and develop this in this capacity and satisfy the needs and the requests of, first of all, town residents, because it's just such a wonderful amenity for people who live in Carabasset Valley, but also Sugarloaf's guests. It's been spectacular to see the growth there. So I wouldn't, I'm not necessarily looking at, any one project or thing that we've done. I'm just kind of looking for the long haul as to this being a jumping off place to build from. And I really appreciate the fact that this, has come, the Outdoor Center has come before your board, now this being the third time. And, and we really appreciate that being so open to helping us change with it. And we're just looking to continue on in that fashion going forward. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to ask. Or other way around, I'd be happy to answer. Sorry.
Are there any questions for Mr. Butler? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Cheryl, that's all I have. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, then I will close the public hearing on LD 1690. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on to our discussion on the Wild Blueberry Commission. And so I will ask Karen to kind of summarize that quickly, and then I'll turn it over to Representative O'Neill.
So basically, the Government Oversight Committee, as you recall, asked this committee to provide some input on, just looking at the structure of the Wild Blueberry Commission. And I guess they're probably trying to make a determination if the Wild Blueberry Commission is going to fall within the scope of their work. So they are meeting tomorrow morning about this very topic. So, Eric Venturini sent quite a bit of information after the last time we discussed this. So there's a quick turnaround, I guess, in that we have to sort of come up with some sort of recommendation. Yes, we support the Government Oversight Committee in looking at the issues surrounding the commission or whatever, but a letter would go to that committee from you all, and has to be turned around in pretty short time frame.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Karen? Representative Blucher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think I actually missed the public hearing on this. So what the action that they're looking for from our committee is a letter outlining what exactly?
I don't know. I might defer to Representative O'Neill since she's on both committees, and I know she's been having conversations with OPEGA, who staffs the Government Oversight Committee. But I guess that's up to the committee. I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but they did send a letter to us asking for our input. The Washington County delegation did come talk to us about some of the concerns, and if I could grab my file, I could go into that for you, but it could be as detailed or as broad as the committee would like. And I see Maggie's, Representative O'Neill's hand is up, so maybe she could fill in the details.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead, Representative O'Neill. Floor is yours.
All right, sounds good. Representative Blucher, in answer to your question, so what had happened was the Washington County delegation about a year ago had initiated a request with GOC, and I can't tell you whether it was COVID or what, but over that year we didn't take it up until the beginning of this year, I want to say. And we had when it was presented to the committee, there weren't a lot of people there to talk. So what I had suggested, just because I remembered from the conversation that we had had about the committee a year previously, was that it was a topic of interest. So I wanted to make sure that that it didn't go away for lack of interest, and wanted to create a conversation here. And what we saw was that when we opened up the floor, I think folks talked for maybe Karen remembers, but 3.5 hours. They brought a lot of information and concerns and interest in ways that that commission could operate a little better to serve main growers and main producers. So what we did was we had a long conversation. We requested a lot of information, and Director Venturini is going to come up today and present those information requests. And with the committee's agreement, it was a lot of information, really substantive, and OPEGA staff, I think, is much better equipped to go through that and evaluate the questions that had been originally posed a year ago. So my proposal is that we send it back over to GOC and OPEGA and say, could you please help, frame these questions? There was a lot of interest, and we think that this will be helpful to folks in their process as they rebuild with a new director and make changes that'll help serve everybody. So it's kind of like it's an opportunity to have a program review and take advantage of that resource that OPEGA offers. I see Director Venturini just came through the portal. So if that answers your question, Representative, I think we'll move over to having Director Venturini bring back that information that we had requested and discussed.
It does. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Welcome, Director Venturini. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Representative O'Neill and Senator Dill and members of the Committee on Ag Conservation and Forestry. My name is Eric Venturini. I'm the Executive Director of the Wild Blueberry Commission of Maine.
Great. Thanks for being here.
If you like, I can just jump right in, or what's that?
That's
Sorry.
great. Yeah, and I think maybe 20 minutes or so if you want to go through. I know you had a lot of information there, but if you could just kind of go through and answer the questions that we had posed, that would be really helpful.
Sure, absolutely. So I guess I would say first that there was, we provided a briefing to this committee, I don't know, maybe it was a month or so ago at this point, and it was, kind of in the form of a hearing that Representative O'Neill referred to. I did present a lot of, kind of a comprehensive accounting of what the commission is, which I'll just briefly explain again. The commission is a public instrumentality of the state. It's funded by an industry tax. And then also I discussed what the Wild Blueberry Association of North America is, which is a promotional organization that also conducts health research. And for decades, the Wild Blueberry Commission has invested in the Wild Blueberry Association of North America in order to really carry out the promotional part of our mission. And I can talk a little bit more about that. But I would also refer the members of the committee back to the letter that I originally sent to the committee when this issue is first taken up by ACF, the briefing that I provided. And then what I can go through today is Representative O'Neill had asked for 5 additional specific pieces of information. And so I tried to address those as succinctly as I could. And the 5 questions were: 1, give a historical perspective on Canadian versus Maine contributions to promotional budgets from the year 2000 to 2020. And I'll stop just a minute and make sure that I submitted this in the form of a letter, which is what I will be referring to. And so I don't know if you all have that in front of you, but it was sent on April 29th. The second
Hey,
question.
Eric, I just emailed it to the committee.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. The second question was to provide information on changes over time in the number of Maine wild blueberry farms and acreage. And the third was to provide changes over time in the Canadian acreage and their US imports. And the fourth was to provide additional information on what's called the bonus buy program. And the fifth is to provide a short but clear graphic of where the wild blueberry tax money goes. And so what I would do is actually start at number 5 there. I think, I did put together a schematic that I think goes through where the wild blueberry tax money goes in a fairly simple manner. So I'll start there, and I can share my screen if that would be preferable to you, Representative O'Neill.
Yes, thanks for asking.
Great. All right. Is everyone able to see that? You should see at the top, Maine wild blueberry growers and Maine wild blueberry processors in purple.
I can see it, but it's not filling the screen evenly, if that makes sense. I don't know if other people.
Yeah, I've zoomed in on one part of it, and I'll go through this.
Oh, now it is. Might be my computer.
So as long as you if you can read it all, then that's the plan. So, so the tax comes from two sources, really: wild blueberry growers and wild blueberry processors. Per statute, 0.75 cents per pound grown by farmers goes into this tax, and 0.75 cents per pound processed go into the tax as well. Plus, some processors also purchase blueberries that they then process from Canada, and those berries are also taxed at the full amount, 1.5 cents per pound. So all that together comes out to 1.5 cents per pound grown or processed in Maine. So that's the wild blueberry tax, and that is what funds the Wild Blueberry Commission of Maine. In 2021, we had a pretty bad year, and so our tax allocation was pretty low compared to where it usually is. And actually, we received a little bit more in the last few months, so I think right now it's about $810,000 or so for the total tax allocation for from the 2020 crop for this year's budget for 2021. Traditionally, and has been the case for the last several decades, about 2/3 of that tax we have invested in WBANA, the Wild Blueberry Association of North America, in order to carry out our the promotional part of our mission. And then they do promote wild blueberries and develop markets across the globe, and also carry out health research, which informs our promotions. So from here, I will jump over to the rest of the commission expenditures before going through how the WBANA US funds break down. So again, total tax, 809, 2/3 of it to this other organization, WBANA US, and the rest of it. So this is this year's budget. Obviously, this fluctuates from year to year. And then I also want to point out that, these numbers, if you add them all up, they don't equal 809. They're more than that because we pulled from reserves this year in order to continue to carry out our work because of the short crop last year. So we have allocated in our budget about $103,000 to go down to this fair in Massachusetts, where we promote Maine wild blueberries to fairgoers in Massachusetts. That fair usually actually results in a break even, where we also make money from selling wild blueberry products. So it kind of ends up being a wash as far as income and expenses. But we go down to this fair as part of a group of state commodity, other state commodity groups that are all under kind of and organized by the Department of Ag Conservation and Forestry. Maybe some of you have been to the fair. So another expense line is this 16,000 or so that is the commission match for a grant that we received last June to carry out some, to really elevate web-based market connectivity of Maine wild blueberry growers and businesses. That grant and that project is ongoing. We also have a school nutrition program, so almost $62,000 are going there this year. And that pays for a couple of consultants. It pays for a marketing agency that helps promote the sale of Maine wild blueberries through what's called the USDA Commodity Buy program. It's part of the Ag Marketing Service. And because of this program, we have effectively doubled how many Maine wild blueberries we sell through the USDA that end up on the plates of students across the country. When this program started in 2017, the volume was about 1.25 million pounds going into that channel. And now it's between 2.5 and 3 million pounds a year that go into that channel. So that program has been very successful. We've got about $5,500 going to printed promotional materials. We've got a Wild Blueberry t-shirt, aprons, those kinds of things that we sometimes provide for free to fairs, events, and growers that, and sometimes we provide them at cost actually to folks that then want to use them themselves to help promote their own wild blueberry business. We have $85,000 a year that goes into a dedicated research and extension account. And so that gets given out to University of Maine researchers as part of a competitive grant process that is run by our advisory board that hears from and then awards wild blueberry research funds to University of Maine researchers. We've got $10,000 in here to support the UMaine Plant Diagnostic Laboratory, which, as you know, is also funded by the pesticide container tax bill. That's LD 808, I believe. And then we have $60,000 that goes into this year, a discretionary account that included legal fees on a international trade issue that has since been resolved, some grant writing expenses, and just general issues response to things that we may not predict that could come up. $15,000 for state fairs, promotional partnerships, and education. So a lot of this goes to support, to provide materials and to support state fairs that promote Maine wild blueberries. $19,000 go to state and federal policy consultants. And we allocated this year $47,450 for the launch and promotion of the first annual Maine Wild Blueberry Weekend, which our website for that is now live, www.wildblueberryweekend.com. I encourage you all to come and check out the website. $13,000 in grants to join and support various federal policy coalitions. We've allocated $38,000 for our audit, our annual audit, insurance, cost of communications, and general, office and operational expenses. And then the remainder, $266, go towards salary benefits and payroll for myself, 2 staff, and a part-time student employee. So that is the commission budget for 2021. I guess I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. Okay, great. So then for the 540 that go to
Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt. I raised my hand and then realized I was raising it for myself. I just had a question real quickly about those legal fees. Could you talk more? Is that the was it USITC 201?
Yeah, you're talking about the $60,000 here?
The 60, yeah.
Yeah, we had talked to a DC lawyer and had a proposal from her to see, how much it would cost in case the commission decided to take a stance on the USITC investigation. The commission decided not to take a stance. We did not have to use those funds.
Okay, so it was set aside but wasn't needed.
That's right.
Okay, all right, thanks. I think I'm all set to go forward. I don't see any other questions.
Great. So then these are, this is a breakdown of the Wild Blueberry Association of North America US budget. So WBANA, Wild Blueberry Association of North America. Remember, this is a trade association. This is not the public instrumentality of the state that the commission is. This organization was formed in about 1981. And originally it was a single entity. It was just WBANA. There was no US and Canada. And then in the early 2000s, the organization split into WBANA US and WBANA Canada two separate organizations, two separate boards that still worked collaboratively and co-promoted and shared resources to a certain extent. And so I'll just go into the breakdown of the budget at this point. Just wanted to make sure everybody's clear on what Wabana US is versus the commission. So Wabana US, this 540. Again, Wabana is pulling from their reserves. So if you add these numbers together, you'll get more than 540. It's because it was a short year. So I'll start with the two major pieces, which are in orange. And they're in orange because traditionally, those two pieces of the budget have been matched or more than matched by Canadian contributions. And so this is where we're pooling resources. For example, health research. We fund research to study the health benefits of eating wild blueberries. Whether wild blueberries are grown, in Canada or Maine, the health benefits are the same. And so it makes sense to pull resources there. And so we have, and then the decision has been made for quite a while, the board of directors of Wabana to market primarily wild blueberries, because that is what most of the purchasers are looking for. And that also allows us to promote more broadly, have more power in, have more money to get more promotion, from marketing agencies and get the message out there to really differentiate wild blueberries from our primary competitors, cultivated blueberries, which is based on our market research where consumers mostly get hung up. We think there's more value in wild. And so we're trying to convince consumers that wild is better and educate them that wild exists. And so that's where the promotional dollars have gone. And again, that 294 traditionally is matched by Canada or better than matched. Now, I'll also add in the last year and a half, Canadian and Maine relationships have not been, more than a year and a half, have not been quite the same. The Canada is no longer matching right now, which is part of the reason why conversations around how this all should be structured have come up both in Wabana and also in the commission, and they will continue to happen. But traditionally, that's where the matching occurred. And so
Director,
then yes.
Just a quick question about this. One question that was raised, I think by Mr. Hammond during our last meeting was a request for what percentage Maine growers contribute now. I think part of the question was that it was supposed to be 50-50, and we were curious about a percentage 15 to 20 years ago for Canadian versus.
Yep, and I've got.
Now, would you be able to provide that information just in more detail? And then you had said that it was 50-50 and now it isn't. So maybe you could give it in 3 tiers of how it used to be. Yep. And then what it, when it was matching 50-50, and then what that percentage is now. And we can
so if we just
send that over with our packet to GOC.
It's right here. If we just go up, here's the table. So yeah, this is in response to that. And your question, I think your question covers it, which is a historical perspective on Canadian versus Maine contributions from 2000 to 2020. So here in the first column, we have the estimated total combined expenditures, Canada and US. So that's everything together. And then here we have in the second column, the Wild Blueberry Commission. So that's what this year is 540. The Wild Blueberry Commission grant to Wabana US. So that's this column. You can see it fluctuates based on the crop size. And then we have here the Wabana Canada budget for US health research and promotion. So from 2000 to 2013, the way this worked was Wabana Canada paid Wabana US directly for their part of the US health research and promotion. And so it shows up in this column. Can you see my cursor?
I can, thank you.
Okay, so it shows up in this column. And then in 2013, that changed, and they started paying the marketing firm directly, the same one that we use, rather than that coming through the commission. And so that's why you have these empty spots here. And so it just shifted. And then you see zeroed out in the last couple of years for health, for US health research and promotion. However, this really refers to new investments. Wabana Canada has paid us for what they have owed for their previous commitments to health research, and that's for ongoing projects that we're still funding. And so that shows up here with these two. These are two separate invoices for a couple of different research projects. And then we have, so that's why we have these two columns: Wabana Canada payments to Wabana US and Wabana US payments to Wabana Canada. So I explained why this column exists. And then in addition, there's these reciprocal payments to really just demonstrate, on the record and to the boards of both organizations that there's mutual support between the entities. And that's why there's been this back and forth.
Thank you very much for mapping that out. So is this typically a 50-50 number? That was part of the question.
It's not exactly 50-50, and frankly, it's more complicated than that, because sometimes Canada would leverage some of the funds to secure grant funds from the Canadian government. And my understanding is that in most years, it was better than 50-50, with Canada being able to put in more than 50%. In the last 2 years, it's totally different math. But you can basically look at these two columns together, plus compared to these two columns, and you can get your proportions that way.
Okay, I think that's a perfect amount of detail, and then we can encourage folks, if they have more questions about that, to help in the GOC process with framing the questions.
And then I just put this in for reference. This is the actual value of the crop. That's just farm gate times production. So would you like me to go down and finish going through the Wabana allocations real quick?
Yes, please. Thanks for taking that detour.
Sure. Whoops. So we talked about these two figures. There's also a foreign market development program where Wabana US invests in developing foreign markets. We developed markets in South Korea, China, a number of different countries. And it's a relatively small investment from Wabana US, and it's matched by the USDA Market Access Program. And actually, that's better than 50%. Most of that funding comes from the USDA Market Access Program. And so this year, for example, with a MAP contribution plus the funding from Wabana, it's a $60,000 budget line. And then we've got a chunk for an audit and various legal fees, which is $14,000, $6,000 for just meetings and communications, $3,400 for insurance and various expenses. And then we have $95,000, which Wabana US uses to hire me and my staff to help administer Wabana. So I'm executive director of the commission, the public instrumentality, and I'm also hired by Wabana to administer their accounts. So that's how that works. So that's why the 95 ends up back here in the commission budget. So I guess I can stop there if you'd like and see if there's questions, or if you'd like me to continue to go through some of the other of the 5 questions, Representative O'Neill.
Thanks. I'm going to pause for a question from Representative Fluker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to clarify on that last point, that 95,000, or is that 2 separate salaries you draw, or is the 95,000 just go to support your WBC salary?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's not 2 separate salaries. And that's not my salary. That just comes back into the overall commission budget, just to carry out our work. Yeah.
So you have one job that for WBC, and it's the same job for Wabana? Or do you hold 2 different? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I see it as one position. Part of my job with the commission is to support and administer for Wabana. And that's how it was framed to me when I was hired.
Okay, so it's part of your job
because
description
of this. Yes,
it's part of your job description for the commission to take care of Wabana.
As long as this agreement lasts, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no more questions, I'd like to get through the other agenda items in your document here.
Great. Okay. So you had asked changes over time in the number of Maine wild blueberry farms and acreages. So if we scroll up to page 3, these are USDA, National Ag Statistics Service data. The USDA does a census every 5 years. And so we have 2 ways they've counted this. Operations with area harvested is the blue bar. Operations with area grown is the purple bar. These are different numbers, of course, because wild blueberries are biennial. And so, a given field will have, in any given year, very often, twice as much grown as harvested. And so there's a, I'm not explaining this well, but basically these numbers are not quite the same. We have the longest records for the operations with area harvested, but the area grown is really the more accurate representation of the number of farms. And so either way, there has been a decline, and it is something that is a priority to address within the commission. One of our shared priorities, as identified in our October strategic planning session and reaffirmed in a March meeting, and as I discussed at length in the briefing, is to, among other things, to stop the loss of growers and acreage. And so that is, one of the major reasons why we carry out and identify the projects that we do. So yes, there has definitely been a decline.
Dr. Venturini, just one request to add before you send this over to GOC. Would you be able to add an additional 20 years to that chart to send it over?
I do not have an additional 20 years.
Are you able to go back 10 years? I just wonder if we would see like more of a.
I mean, it's as long as USDA has been asking the question, and as far as I've been able to find, it just goes to 1997. I can see if there's a longer time period, but it would become, I'm going to guess that it would become pretty anecdotal and not as comparable year to year.
Okay, that's helpful to know what was behind your data. And again, we can work with folks in the process with GOC too.
But I can see, and if there's anything to add, I will add it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And you had asked to provide changes over time in the Canadian acreage and their US imports. So this is this graph here. I will zoom in a bit so you can see it. So the yellow line is Canadian acreage. Excuse me, it's not acreage, it's production in millions of pounds. So from 2000, I mean, some minor growth from 2000 to 2010 with a couple of spikes. in some years up to 150 million pounds. Production in 2016 did climb up to 300 million pounds. That's the same year that we had 3 big crop years in Maine. And of course, combined with growing acreage and production of cultivated, it was the start of pretty low prices and oversupply situation for Maine wild blueberries for the next 4 years or so. We did just see the USDA release their 2020 figures for wild blueberries, and prices last year finally came up quite a bit from the lows that we saw following this period of overproduction. So anyway, the yellow line here is Canadian production. After 2016, it dropped back down to around 200 million per year. And then we have the red line is how much of that is exported into the US. So fairly steady, some increases when Canadian production grew. And then we have the blue line, which is US wild exported into Canada. And some of this is just back and forth of product that, so the seasonality of Canada versus Maine is slightly different. So processors, purchase Canadian product in order to extend how long they're using processing facilities in Maine and vice versa. Also companies purchase Canadian or Canadian companies purchase Maine. Some companies operate on both sides of the border, so there's flow back and forth. So some of this is kind of that noise, and it's hard to tease apart exactly what is truly ending up in the Canadian market and what's truly ending up in the US market. But that's that graph. And then finally, you asked for some information on the bonus buy program. So the bonus buy program is also known as Section 32. And this is a congressional appropriation. Most of it goes to fund child nutrition programs, which provides US grown food to elementary schools and other facilities. And the most important thing to understand here is, I guess one is the purpose of it, and it's to provide disaster relief. So in times of market crisis, where it's important for the industry to take some product out of supply to bring the market back to where it should be, and just to help American farmers by purchasing product if that's what's needed. And so USDA has been doing this for quite a long time. When there is a decision by the USDA Ag Marketing Service to purchase, for example, Maine wild blueberries, that is a purchase. They send out an announcement that they would like to purchase X quantity. There's a process of competitive bids. And then the supplier, and that supplier has to meet minimum, some pretty high standards that the USDA sets in order to competitively bid. For example, they have to be able to supply a pretty large quantity to wherever it is the USDA wants that product to go. So there's a fairly limited number of companies that can actually reply to and bid on these requests. When the bid is made, I think it's important to understand that this is a purchase. This is a purchase of product. And so it looks big. Yeah, there's 10 million pounds of wild blueberries requested in the year 2000 on this table here. And that was purchased for $10.6 million. But I mean, that's a sale. It's a purchase. It's not like a company just was given a handout. They supplied product for that. And so that's how that works. And the reason USDA does it is to really help out the market or, otherwise just provide relief to American farmers if that's needed by purchasing their product. And so this is kind of the history of these purchases. I have in the first column the quantity requested. So the commission would typically write a letter to the AMS and let them know that there were conditions of oversupply and suggest that maybe a purchase of a certain amount in terms of quantity, weight of product, millions of pounds, would help to alleviate some of the market pressure. And then sometimes the AMS would agree with that decision, and sometimes they would not. The price is set based on that competitive bidding process. And so this is the history of those Section 32 buys from 2000 to 2017. Questions on that?
Thank you, Director. My question is something that had come up was, well, there are a few points. Sorry, I'm far away from my computer. There are a few points that were made about this buyback program, and one that I remember was maybe how do we distinguish between product that's American or Canadian and where it's coming from? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it is illegal to sell foreign product to the USDA for this program. So to my knowledge, no supplier has ever sold Canadian berries through this program. Okay. There are companies that operate on both sides of the border, but if they're going to respond to a USDA bid, then they're committing to supplying main product for that bid.
Okay, so do they take measurements of amount produced on the main side, and they might not identify a main berry, but they're not allowed to have a buyback of an amount more than what they produced on the main side?
None of these quantities are in excess of what some of those companies even produce. I couldn't speak to how they track, but tracking where the product is, its place of origin is required. It's just part of being in agriculture. So I'm sure that they have detailed tracking technology that they use to make sure that they keep those products separate. But I couldn't speak to it. I'm not a company that has responded to it or tracks that myself, so I don't know that much about it.
Okay, I see a question from Rep. Underwood.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Franchi. I'm Joseph Underwood from Presque Isle, and specifically, I'm interested in Catholic Charities in Maine. Do you have, how would they acquire product from the blueberry industry in Washington County? You have a donation program, or is it for a purchase program that they could do, or through the Department of Agriculture, or through a grant from them that they would purchase it and turn it over to Catholic Charities?
Thanks for the question, Representative Underwood. I'm not 100% sure as far as the USDA programs. The Catholic Charities could could contact AMS to determine whether it's possible for them to receive part of the Section 32 products, and that would not just be wild blueberries even. Of course, they can always purchase it, and then individual companies, I'd suggest they contact individual companies to see if there would be any any willingness to provide some donations. I do know that there are some growers that do donate to food pantries and such, but I couldn't speak to the specific arrangements. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the question.
Director Venturini, can you talk just briefly about the qualifications that you said that there are qualifications for the bonus buy program and that you have to be able to provide quantity?
I am no expert on it.
Well, I'll just have you, if you could, work with me on that information when we go to the OPECA process.
I could try to provide that information. Sure, it's on the USDA website. So
thanks. We can work together on that. All right. So I want to wrap up just because we have quite a bit here today. Does that conclude the material?
I believe, yep. I guess I'd ask you if you think I've answered all 5 of your questions, and if so, then absolutely, that's all I have.
Okay, great. Do I see any questions from committee members? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Director Venturini, for this presentation. And I want to work with Karen on what the next steps are. Before I do that, I just wanted to look in the room and see if stakeholders feel that they had gotten all the information they needed. And if folks want to touch base between now and in the next couple weeks when we initiate this process, feel free to reach out. We can work on getting better info. So thank you, Director Venturini. So Karen, I want to pull you back in to talk about what the next step would be. And I think just based on what we saw during that listening session in April, we had quite a bit of interest in this. So what my suggestion would be is we send this back to the GOC committee and say that we held a listening session in April. We requested information. Here are the answers that were presented by the commission director. And we recommend that GOC revisit the questions that were originally posed a year ago. Here, are some tailored questions and information that were brought to us by the public and stakeholders. And we recommend that you, as a committee, GOC, move forward with this process to work with the commission in their next steps to support the marine industry.
Okay, it sounds good. Can you, as host, stop Mr. Venturini's screen sharing? Because that's all I see.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah, I was trying to do that too.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so I will put that draft together after we finish today, and I'll run it by you and Senator Dill. And I'll send the letter along with Mr. Venturini's packet from April 29th. And let me know if you want me to forward. I know he had he had an additional packet for the original briefing that I could send along as well. So
yes, please, that'd be great.
Okay.
So do we need to vote on that, or can we just send a letter?
I'll leave it up to you to decide that.
Is everybody okay with that, or do you want to take a vote? All right, let's just, in the interest of time, that works to send a letter. All right. Sounds good. We got Underwood's thumbs up. Representative Underwood. Representative Fluker, is that a hand?
Yes, it is. Could you just share the letter with us when it comes out? That'd be great.
Always.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll turn things over to my co-chair, Senator Dill.
Thank you, Representative O'Neill. We'll move on to work sessions, and our first work session, I'll open the work session on LD 471, an act to require legislative approval for certain leases of public lands. I believe that was Senator Black's bill originally. Karen.
Yeah, so this bill amends the section of law, Title 12, Section 1852, subsection 4, that has to do with lease of public reserve land for utilities and rights of way. So current law provides that the Bureau may lease the right for a term not exceeding 25 years to set and maintain.
Karen, is this tabled?
No, we
Okay.
never, yeah, it was heard, gosh, almost 2 months ago, and no, we have not held.
Okay, thank
a
you.
work
Sorry to
session.
interrupt.
Yep, that's okay. So the current law says the Bureau may lease the right for a term not exceeding 25 years to set and maintain or use poles, electric power transmission, and telecommunication transmission facilities, roads, bridges, and landing strips, lay and maintain or use pipelines and railroad tracks, and establish and maintain or use other rights of way. So what LD 471 does, it specifies that any such poles, transmission lines, etc., are deemed to substantially alter the uses of the land within the meaning of the Constitution of Maine, Article 9, Section 23, and a lease or conveyance for the purpose of constructing and operating such poles, transmission lines, etc., may not be granted without first obtaining the vote of 2/3 of all members elected to each house of the legislature. So unless you've been living under a rock, you probably are familiar with the provision, Article 9, Section 23 in the Constitution, Maine Constitution, which provides that state park land, public lots, or other real estate held by the state for conservation or recreation purposes may not be reduced or its uses substantially altered, except on the vote of 2/3 of all the members elected to each house. And then in Title 12, Section 598, subsection 4 describes what is meant by reduced, and then subsection 5 describes substantially altered. So LD 471, as you probably already know, is Section 1. It's almost identical to Section 1 of LD 1295, which you just held a joint work session with the Energy and Utilities Committee. And of course, LD 1295 is an initiated bill. And my colleague talked about the initiated bill process. But I guess how I'll leave it is that, anytime there's proposed legislation on a subject addressed in an initiated bill, I guess the legislature needs to be aware of the potential of a competing measure, if it deals with the same broad subject matter, and can the two proposals stand together? So it's somewhat vague, but I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Oh, I lie. Director Andy Cutco did send some information, and I forwarded it all to you. So regarding this bill in particular, there were questions raised about prior legislative approval of leases. So Director Cutco had sent part of the bill file relating to LD 1913, which was a 2007 resolve that it sounds like there were multiple transactions, but it authorized the conversion of a Bureau of Parks and Lands lease to an easement for the Bangor Hydroelectric Company. But anyway, I did see Director Cutco in the attendees if you want to ask him more about that. Now I'm done.
Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative O'Neill, correct me if I'm wrong, but in our conversations, we have talked about carrying this bill over and no need to talk to the department at this time. We'd like to have this as a vehicle. We have a referendum coming up in the fall and a court case out there going on. And I think it would be wise for us just to carry this over. And I think we talked about sending a letter to, but Representative O'Neill might be able to add to this.
Sure. Thank you, Senator Black. Or Mr. Chair, is that okay if I jump in? I'm sorry for the formality. Yeah, so we've been discussing this. I think it makes sense just to carry it over. And yes, we are working together on a letter. It's taking me a little bit longer to draft it, but process-wise, maybe I could bring that to the committee at our next meeting on Tuesday, and we could send that out then, if it works for folks after we work on that together.
Okay. Other questions for anybody? Senator Black, do you want to make a motion to carry over and send a letter?
I would make that motion.
Is there a second? Seconded by Representative Landry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Cheryl, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, I will. LD 471, carryover. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Maggie O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Maggie O'Neill, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
Yes.
Representative Joseph Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford.
Yes.
Representative Jeffrey Gifford, yes. Representative David McCray.
Yes.
Representative David McCray, yes. Representative Susan Bernard, absent. 12 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, on LD 471, the vote was 12-0-1 to carry over the act to require legislative approval of certain leases of public lands. I will close.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
That, with a carryover, that allows us the opportunity to put out a bill if we want to.
We're just carrying this bill over, so we just start all with it again next time. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'll close the the work session on LD 471, and we'll open up the work session on LD 1075, an act to protect public lands. Karen.
So this bill adds a provision under the designated lands statute and 598. It adds a 598C. So it would require the Department of ACF, Bureau of Parks and Lands, to adopt rules that establish an evaluation process for determining if a proposed activity on designated land would cause the land to be reduced or substantially altered, and designates those rules as major substantive rules. So again, Director Cutco did send some information to the committee. There was a request for kind of like a flow chart of how they undertake this process. So it's I guess he called it a project review flow chart that characterizes the Bureau's decision-making for proposals involving sale, easement, or lease of Bureau lands. So again, I do see him in the attendees if you want to hear from Director Cutco.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would move that we directly carry this over. And part of the reason is the flowchart contained information that really does directly pertain to the court case that's pending, and part of the referendum and stuff like that. So that's really where the letter comes in that I am working on drafting. There were some false legal distinctions made there, and I wanted to make a letter reiterating the committee's finding that there was a substantial alteration.
All right, so you have moved to carry it over, correct?
Move to carry over, yes, please.
And seconded by Senator Black. Any further discussion?
The only question I have, it sounds like the letter pertains to both bills, 471 and 1075, or?
I think I'll be able to sort that out better as I finish it, but I saw it as pertaining mostly to this one.
Okay.
Just it had been raised earlier, so. Thanks, Karen.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
LD 1075, carryover. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Maggie O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Maggie O'Neill, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
Yes.
Representative Joseph Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford.
Yes.
Representative Jeffrey Gifford, yes. Representative David McCray.
Yes.
Representative David McCray, yes. Representative Susan Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes. Unanimous carryover.
Okay, on LD 1075, an act to protect public lands. Vote is 13-0 to carry this over. I will close. Yep.
Senator Dill, would it be possible to get, oh, she just popped off. Representative Bernard's vote on 471.
Sure. She's there.
Okay. So 471 is Senator Black's bill. And the committee voted to carry it over. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Representative Bernard, but if we could get all votes in, that would.
And the vote is 12-01 at the moment, Representative
Okay.
Bernard.
Yes, to carry over.
Okay, thank you very much.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes, on LD 471.
Okay, so we'll close the work session on 1075 and we'll move on to 1611.
Thank you.
So I'll open the work session on LD 1611.
I wouldn't forget. Thanks.
I guess we need to take it off the table, first of all.
All right, can I have a motion to take it off the table, please? Moved by Representative Landry, seconded by Representative Osher.
I guess I'll defer to Senator Black, but it looks like the Michael Chinquette from whatever ELC stands for, the entity that's running some races at the Cumberland Fairgrounds, has worked with folks to come up with an amendment to address some of the concerns that were brought up at the public hearing. So Senator Black, would you like me to screen share that amendment, proposed amendment?
That would be good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Could you also email it to us?
I sure will. Okay, so you're actually seeing an email from last night, but it looks like, so what the proposed amendment proposes to do is strike and replace Section 3 of the bill, which also happens to be subsection 3 of Title 8, 275B. So it looks like for the most part, it's very similar. So it would allow for facilities to be approved by the commission, and a person licensed as a commercial track to conduct harness horse racing with pari-mutuel betting may sell pari-mutuel pools and a common pari-mutuel pools for simulcast races at a facility that is approved by the commission. So that's the same as the original bill. What's different is the amendment gets rid of the requirements that it be located within 25 miles of the racetrack where the licensed race or race meet is conducted. And it also strikes that paragraph B, that it's located in a municipality with a population greater than 55,000. And instead, the proposed amendment says within the same county as the commercial track, but not within the same municipality as an off-track betting facility licensed under Section 275D. And then the following sentence is new in the proposed amendment to the bill. Any facility approved under this subsection shall obtain municipal approval prior to the sale of pari-mutuel pools and shall provide the municipality in which the facility is located with 5% of the tract share of the commission allocated by Title 8, Section 268, subsection 5. And then the last sentence is the same as the original bill. A person authorized to sell pari-mutuel pools and common pari-mutuel pools for simulcast races at a facility under this subsection may conduct at the facility any other activities incidental to permitted by that license. So the only sort of, as you can see, well, it may not be apparent, but they originally, I just made a technical change to the proposed amendment. They did have a phrase in there for any period prior to January 1st, 2024. And I suggested that the subsection just be repealed by that date so that you don't have any dead wood in the law, so to speak. I think this is getting at once the commercial track is licensed, that this provision would not be needed. And I'll email it right now because I can't talk and email at the same time. Any questions? And you also got some additional testimony from the city of Portland, but it was on the original bill as written. I don't know how they might feel about the proposed amendment.
Representative O'Neill.
Thanks. I'm trying to map it out to follow what this would do. So the testimony from Portland asked a question about preemption. Would this preempt a local municipality's ability to license, or would it just flip the order?
I haven't had a chance to look at that testimony.
Okay. I
don't know.
What their concern was, it sounded like, was they didn't want to lose their ability as a city to go through the review and approval process for licenses.
The proposed amendment does say any facility approved, so that would be approved by the Harness Racing Commission.
Just what I was
Shall
looking at.
obtain municipal approval.
The text, if you look at section 3 of the original, says it's 275B sub 3 says facilities approved by commission. So I think that's what probably flagged their concern. But
Right, but now the proposed amendment adds a provision that any facility approved under this subsection shall obtain a municipal approval prior to the sale and shall provide the municipality the 5%.
okay.
So I
Maybe
don't
you can
know
ask
if that
Mr. Jennings
allays their
to
concerns.
compare that to the normal process.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Oh, could we please ask Mr. Jennings up to kind of map it out and compare it to the normal process?
I don't see him in the,
He's not in the, I don't see him in the attendees, so.
yeah, I can try to reach him.
Okay. That's information that I would like to know. What is the normal process versus this? Because I think we need to be methodical about that, about like what language means and what it does. Mr. Chair, I see a hand up from the sponsor.
Representative Kryzak. You're muted, Representative.
Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill.
Yes.
I did get in touch with Henry Jennings from Harness Racing Commission, and I just need to send him a link. So just give me a moment and we'll get him to answer some of the questions.
All right, I'll go over to Representative Hall while we're waiting for Representative Kryzak to try to get unmuted.
Yes, I just got thank you, Senator Dill. I just got a message from Representative Kryzak, and for some reason his computer won't let him unmute himself. So he's still working on that. I'm not sure if it's something that Cheryl can touch with, see if she can help him out.
I've been trying. It's not working. Maybe if he logs out and logs back in.
How's that?
Oh, there it is. Whoa, whoa, don't go away.
I apologize. I had this big thing that said that the chair wanted to let me, wanted me to unmute, but it wouldn't let me hit the button. So I apologize. I was just going to recommend that if Don Marine is in the waiting room, he could also answer those questions.
He is. Now you're muted, Senator Dill.
Whoops. Would you bring in Don Marine, please? There we are. I think we've all done it today now, so.
I'm here.
Good morning, Don. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning. I'm Don Marian from Hollis. I'm the on the board of directors of the Maine Hannah Sportsmen's Association. I'm here to answer your question, but I think the best way to handle this would to get Mr. Chinquette on. He's the gentleman that wrote the language basically and fully understands what he's trying to accomplish. And that may be the best direction for you to go.
Well, unfortunately, he's not here either, so.
He can't be on until after 11. He sent a message.
Until after 11 now, so.
Right.
The on the board of directors of the Maine Hannah Sportsmen's Association. I'm here to answer your question, but I think the best way to handle this would to get Mr. Chinquette on. He's the gentleman that wrote the language.
All right, so we have Karen Netto on here again. So welcome, Mr. Jennings. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can't see anything other than, can you see me?
We can see you.
Oh, okay.
You're probably fortunate if you can't see us, so.
All right, so yes, my name is Henry Jennings and I'm the Executive Director for the Maine State Harness Racing Commission. I was watching, trying to listen to the YouTube channel, but I keep getting phone calls that interrupt me, but go ahead with the questions.
All right, Representative O'Neill.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Jennings, for coming into the Zoom. My question is, what is the typical process? I think it was under 8 MRS 275B that you referenced last time. Or if you wanted to have an OTB facility, what would you have to go through? And what would this do? What would this amendment change if you've had time to react to it?
I was on the phone for part of the amendment discussion. So I'm not 100% clear on all of the pieces, but I guess and I think maybe Don Marian will be helpful too, but there's two separate processes, and it depends on if it's a, oh, Karen's sending me the amendment, I guess. It depends on whether it's a commercial track or a off-track bedding facility. They're very different processes. If you are a commercial track, you normally do what's called simulcasting, and it's automatic. As soon as you get a license to conduct harness racing for parimutuel pools, you are automatically authorized to conduct simulcasting. And simulcasting is essentially the same thing that happens at an off-track bedding facility, only it's generally on track or close to the track, as in Bangor's case. So there's no municipal approval required, and much less, I guess, documentation that needs to be submitted. And you don't have to have a sign off from the other entities that are able to accept wagers on parimutuel pools. Under 275D, the process is laid out for an off-track betting facility. It seems like it's a little bit antiquated, that process to me, but nonetheless, it's quite a process that does require a public hearing in the municipality for an off-track betting facility, and the municipality must approve an off-track betting facility. So they're kind of quite different depending on whether it's a real off-track betting facility or a commercial track. And LD 1611 seemed to be somewhere in the middle to me, because really they were talking about a simulcast operation, but like Bangor, they wanted to be able to do that somewhere different than at the actual track. I'm not sure if that's helping or not. You could.
Yes. So what I'm asking is, that's helpful to have the comparison of it to the simulcast, but what would this change in the statute now as proposed?
I'm reading. Hank, bear with me.
Okay. Me too.
So it does.
One thing that Portland raised was that they wanted the ability to have local control, and something that I had brought up during the last hearing was just we're changing the process for one developer. So I'm asking what that process is that we're changing.
Well, it looks like what it's doing is adding a municipal approval component to the simulcast approach, if you will.
And by the way that's drafted, do we need to define what municipal approval is? What is it distinguished from the kind of municipal approval that we see in 275D, which includes a public hearing and that the municipality must approve? I'm just trying to understand what would be different by that language.
Well, it isn't clear to me what municipal approval constitutes in this case.
Yeah, I felt the same. And Portland had raised that they were a dry wagering, that last time they had done this, they voted to be not a wagering community or something.
But I mean, I think this would be a question for lawyers really, but it would seem to me it would be up to the municipality to determine the process for approving or disapproving a simulcast.
But it doesn't specify, so it creates an ambiguity.
I agree with you there. I mean, it isn't specific to me exactly what is required to obtain municipal approval. There's also this 5% of the track share going to the municipality. That is completely unique as far as understand, there is no other requirement for any entity that accepts parimutuel wagers to provide any revenue to the host municipality. So that is unique.
And as written, would this retroactively apply to all such facilities, or would it just be to whatever's going forward for that municipal revenue sharing?
That's again a legal question that I'm not necessarily best qualified to answer. I don't see anything in here that suggests there's any applicability beyond just this particular instance. Karen may have a better read on that than I would have, but I don't see anything that suggests it applies to anything beyond this one circumstance.
Karen.
Yeah, I would just say there's no retroactivity provision, so it would just be moving forward.
Thanks,
and of
Karen.
course, it sounded like there was some desire to have this sunsetted at some point in the future.
So where this fits into statute, Karen, is it kind of like there's the normal process and this is off to the side? Like, I'm trying to understand where it fits into the scheme. If it wouldn't retroactively apply to, like, who does it apply to?
So it's 275B. And current law is bear with me here. It's a long chapter 11. Okay, sale of parimutuel pools. So right now, it provides the following persons may sell parimutuel pools on horse racing in accordance with this chapter and rules adopted by the commission. So right now it's racetracks and off-track betting facilities. And so what the bill and what this proposed amendment does is it adds this other circumstance where if a person's licensed as a commercial track to conduct harness racing with the parimutuel betting, it may sell parimutuel pools and common parimutuel pools for simulcast races at a facility that is approved by the commission. So it's kind of, I mean, one could say that it's targeted towards this one circumstance we heard about at the public hearing, but it's just kind of creating another way for a person to be able to sell parimutuel pools if they meet their requirements in that subsection 3.
And what is selling parimutuel pools? I'm just trying to understand, like, does it create? I'm not understanding. So there would still be the commercial track simulcasting process. There would still be the normal OTB process, or would this remove that?
No, I mean, and I look to Henry to jump in, but it does not change those other 2 subsections, racetracks and off-track betting facilities. It just creates another scenario where
you have kind of 3 ways you can go down the road.
Exactly.
And this would allow you to bypass 275D.
Or, well, it's a different set of requirements. It's not bypassing, it's just in addition to, it's another scenario that they would be able to sell parimutuel pools.
So in statute, we've had this one process and it would create a second process, and a developer could choose, I go this one process with a municipal, like a public hearing and municipal approval, or I could go this process with I'm just trying to follow within the county.
It's
just very specific language. It's like within the same county.
I don't know if Mr. Jennings could help me, but as he said at the beginning, there are two processes, one for commercial tracks, one for off-track betting facilities, and this would add yet another process.
Again, there's some parallels to what's happened in Bangor, in so much as they were allowed to do their simulcasting away from the track. So there's some similarities there. But you've got some, and just to quickly, Representative O'Neill asked a question about what a parimutuel pool is. It's just how you wager on horse racing.
When you're trying to load votes and it says requested member of the collection does not exist, what does that mean?
Henry, you may need to repeat that.
I was just responding to Representative O'Neill's question about parimutuel pools. It's just a type of wagering that's common in horse racing. It would be the same whether it's at the track, whether it's simulcast wagering, or whether it's wagering at the OTB.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. So what does sale of the pools mean? Does that mean the actual thing that you do when you offer wagering? Like a person would sell parimutuel pools? Or is a parimutuel pool a business you buy? Like, I'm trying to understand.
No, that's what you go up. If you were at the track, you would go up to the teller and say you wanted to wager $2 on this particular horse to win.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So you've bought a ticket from them for $2 for that wager. So that's what the sale is.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Next is Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just along that line, I was wondering, because earlier in the bill, it mentions common parimutuel pools versus parimutuel pools. Is there a distinction that needs to be clear to us? Mr. Jennings.
Not that I'm aware of. They are common. In other words, all of the wagers are pooled together, and from that pool, the payouts are made.
So in the amendment where it says in the first sentence there, with parimutuel betting may sell parimutuel pools and common parimutuel pools, there, to your knowledge, there's no distinction between parimutuel pools and common parimutuel pools.
Not that I'm aware of, but there may be someone else may know whether there's a distinction or not.
Thank you.
And that was in the original bill as well.
And before we move that on from that question, let's either Mr. Chinquette or Don Marian, since you're kind of horse people here, or maybe Representative Hall, can one of you answer, is there a difference between parimutuel and common parimutuel? Otherwise, why would you have them both there if there's not some difference?
Yes, Senator Dale, this is Representative Hall. I can't answer that, but I believe Mr. Chinquette is in the attendees, and I think he could answer those questions for us.
All right, he's down here in the bottom. Can you answer that, Mr. Chinquette?
Yes, Senator. So I believe, and I'm in my truck, so I can't pull up the statute book right in front of me, but I believe that's an artifact left over from kind of the creation of the industry in Maine. Originally, your parimutuel pools were things occurring directly at the track, and common parimutuel pools were shared between a track, an OTB, folks out of state, things of that nature. But effectively, it is all one and the same. But I believe that's an artifact just from the history of the statute. But again, if I get a chance to get back to my computer and look at the statute book, I can clarify that and send something to Karen so she can double check me.
Okay, thank you. All right, Karen, did you want to add something here, or before I ask for more questions?
Well, yeah, just to Mr. Chinquette's point, I mean, there's, if any committee members want to look at it, it's Title 8, 275B is sale of parimutuel pools, And then 275C is common pair mutual pools, and it sounds like it's pretty much as he described. I raised my hand because I didn't know, so it seemed to be questions about municipal approval. So I do see in under the off-track betting section 275D, subsection 5 does have a municipal approval process. I don't know if, and this might be a question for Mr. Jennings, if, and I haven't read through it, but if you could cross-reference that process for this kind of new thing that the bill or the proposed amendment is creating. And I don't know, I haven't looked through the statute yet to see if there's a separate municipal approval provision for commercial tracks. Or anyway, I just wanted to raise that there is a process spelled out for municipal approval for OTBs.
Mr. Jennings, can you respond to that?
To my understanding, the municipal approval is distinct in that it applies to off-track betting facilities. But in Karen, if you look at section 271, essentially in 270, that's where authorization to conduct parimutuel racing resides, and there is no municipal approval required for a track.
All right, Representative Underwood.
Hi, good morning. I was just quickly reviewing it, and it looks like to me that Portland wants to receive, or I assume that's with its facility for the off-track, not off-track betting, but it's going to be a simulcast. And I assume that it looks like Portland, the city of Portland wants 5% of the take that's of the take on the $2 bet or on the betting, on the $1 bet or $2 bet. The city of Portland wants the 5% that may go to the commission, which the facility is located, want 5% of the track share of the commission allocated under the Title 8, Section 268, subsection 5. And once that 5% taken out of the out of the amount that's wagered, and that it's retained by the commission or retained by the folks to distribute to the various entities. And well, basically it amounts to that Portland wants 5% of it, and for the privilege of operating in the city of Portland, and that's the way I interpret it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would recommend a small, I think, amendment to the amendment, where it says the shall obtain municipal approval prior to the sale of parimutuel pools. I would say prior to the sale of parimutuel pools and common parimutuel pools, as they appear to be distinct within statute.
Okay. Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought you was going to leave me out there hanging for a while.
I had been, but you know.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Would it be possible, seeing that this is Mr. Chinchet's amendment, if he could, maybe clarify a little bit of what he's trying to do with this amendment, and also I think this amendment and this bill is unique to the situation we have right now, where we have lost a track and we're trying to get a track back so that our horsemen can get back to racing and have the support they need to keep the racetrack going until they can build one. And so I'd like to have Mr. Chinchet just speak to this, amendment a little bit, if he could, if it's all right with you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Mr. Chinchet.
Thank you, Senator. So members of the committee, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I was a little bit late getting here. I was on a Turnpike board meeting and it ran a little bit long. So the long and short of the amendment I had drafted was to address a couple different concerns that had come up. The first is, when the bill was first drafted back, or when we first put the language together back in December, there was an effort afoot amongst many folks in the industry, including the OTBs, to try to find a way to kind of work our way through, some of the challenges as the industry undergoes this change. And the reason, kind of Portland effectively was indicated, indirectly through the certain requirements was because that was likely to have the least overall impact on the two other OTBs in the southern Maine vicinity. So that's since changed, and certainly, Senator Dill, one of the things I think you had brought up is, does that requirement necessary? And I overheard Representative O'Neill expressing that some folks in Portland expressed some concern. So fair enough, and we can talk a little bit about municipal approval as well. But the intent on that was to try to broaden the circle a little bit, so that if this wasn't the right community for it, and that wasn't the right fit, then no problem. We could advance the ball, and again ensure that municipal approvals obtained. In terms of what that term of art means, obviously, as members of the committee know well, different communities have different levels of approvals. Some things they delegate to staff, some things they have town referendums on, some things go through a council. So it was left, I don't want to say ambiguous, but it was left flexible once we kind of broadened what the circle could be in terms of potential hosts. Beyond that, and Senator Black mentioned it, and Representative Underwood, again, this is temporary, as noted in my testimony originally. Sunset is friendly. I think Representative Fluker's amendment to clarify it's parimutuel and common parimutuel pools is well founded. That's what I get for drafting quickly. But in terms of the 5% piece, again, given Representative Underwood's comment, no one's asked for that. That hasn't been a requirement anywhere. But again, it's recognizing that this is a little bit of a change, and that wanted to make sure that a hosting community, if it made the affirmative choice to do it, would have some additional benefit other than just helping the harness racing industry continue and survive and get across the bridge to hopefully a great new track.
Okay. Senator Black, does that answer your questions?
Yeah, yes, it does, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Representative Fluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When we see that this subsection is repealed on January 1st of 2024, do you see that as closing the OTB, or just that no other OTBs could use this process for opening?
I would see that as closing, because I think the intent, certainly the plan is by then we'll have the new track online, kind of with the simulcast facility included. And, the intent isn't to have a permanent OTB, a second permanent simulcast facility separate from the track. This is really just kind of this interim stage while we're leasing the Cumberland Fairgrounds.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chinchett, thanks for being here. So I'm going through this language. Typically we have kind of like a mapping of it. So I'm catching up here. So the intent, you're striking 25 miles of, within 25 miles of the track. So that's more expansive. You strike the 55K, which would limit it to Portland. So that is more expansive, but it does stay within the same county as the track. So it'd have to be in Cumberland County as it applies to your facility. Do you envision, I'm just wondering where you are in your planning process. Have you been looking at facilities for this? I'm going to say it wrong. OTB. I was going to say OBT.
So we haven't really looked at. I mean, there are lots of facilities, certainly in the southern part of the state and in the Portland area. We haven't planned anything. We haven't spec'd out computers or anything like that. Because again, obviously, it's far from a foregone conclusion that the legislature would enact this bill and the governor might sign it or let it go. So no, we don't have a firm facility in place. And again, part of the way it's drafted is intended to be, if we know it's proceeding, we then put that plan together, bring it to the Harness Racing Commission for them to approve, and then also have the municipality approve as well. So it's a little premature to say what it might look like until we even know if it's go. Obviously, we've been focused on getting Cumberland up and running and hosting races successfully there.
Thank you. And what kind of facility would this be? Like if you compared it to an existing business, would it be like going to Binga's? Like what would it be like?
Yeah, it'd be the intent would be like a bar, sports bar, restaurant type thing. And certainly that's, if I know Mr. Tardy has, I think, expressed to this committee before the need for OTBs more generally, and that's a whole different conversation. But to really have it be a integral piece of a food and beverage operation, so that would be the intent. It would be we haven't talked to Bingos, we haven't talked to Rivalries, we haven't talked to any of those folks, but more of a pub place, grab a beer, watch a race, and maybe put a couple dollars down on a horse race.
So you would work with somebody that already has a sports bar rather than build one from the ground up?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we do have, we are affiliated with some businesses in Portland, both directly and indirectly, as well as, other places in the county. So we haven't finalized what anything looks like, but yes, partnering with an existing operator is certainly a possibility. Trying to bring something fully out of the ground for a 2 to 3 year window is just, it's cost prohibitive.
That makes sense. Have you spoken with municipal officials in Portland about this? And what, in that testimony that was submitted by Portland, the city attorneys referenced that there had been some kind of vote to make Portland a dry wagering city. I'm wondering if you can speak to what the status of that is. Who have you talked to locally when you're asking for this change to current statute? What kind of groundwork have you done to make sure that it will work?
Yeah, well, so I think so I haven't seen testimony from the city attorney or anything like that, so I can't speak to what that is. So I'd love a chance to review that before commenting. But my understanding and my read of the city code, and maybe there's a provision I'm unaware of, but I believe it's Chapter 4 of the Portland City Code, which governs amusements and adult entertainment. It has a list of how you pursue licensing for games of chance in Portland, and so that's really the way I read that was there is a already defined ordinance on that point. But if I'm mistaken on that, that's I'd love to see what the city attorney had to say. I have spoken with various folks in some of the business community. A year, I don't know, COVID makes me lose track of time, but it was probably about 8-9 months ago. I spoke with, I can't remember, one of the city councilors about kind of the concept of it. And again, that came up in the context of, obviously, as the legislature knows, sports wagerings, the other big gaming issue, probably much bigger than this even. They were asking me what I knew about what was going on there. So I've had kind of very, very cursory conversations with folks in the city. My understanding, like I said, my understanding of the current city code is that the amusement section of the ordinance would govern this. So if the city attorney has a different read on things, or they're pointing to something else, I'd react to that once I had a chance to look at it.
Thank you. So what what is your read on what the process is based on the research you've done?
I know I'd sent it to Karen and Senator Dill. And I can't cite the chapter and verse. I think for some reason, section 83 sticks out in my head, and Karen can double check me, but it essentially says an application for a license to conduct game of chance, game of chance at the state level is sufficient to meet municipal licensure, and then you have to pay certain fees, and obviously then still align with any zoning ordinances.
Okay, so a state level license is sufficient. So if you were to flip the order of needing to get a municipal approval before a state one, it helps you work within that framework in Portland. You can come and say, I already have this, so I meet the qualifications here.
So I guess I'm confused. Could you say that again? Because I think I have it backwards in my head.
Sure. So the way that the process is in statute now is have a public hearing in the municipality, and the municipality must approve it. And then I asked you what your research was about how the municipal approval process goes in Portland now. And you said that under the gaming or amusement or whatever the provision is called, that all that it requires is a state level approval for it.
Yeah, correct. The state, I believe, and Karen can probably grab that piece I'd sent her, but essentially, I believe the city council has delegated that to the permitting and inspections department.
Okay. So really, like what would be left to take place after you got this state, we passed this statute that allows you to move forward. You work with the Harness Racing Commission and get your license there, right? Am I using the right word when I say license?
Yeah, so technically, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just trying to understand the order of how things would go.
So yeah, I think
I want it to be really thoughtful and to know what it is that we're providing.
Sure. It's so we've already been licensed. That was the process, to host harness racing at the Cumberland Fairgrounds. So that license exists. That license to simulcast already exists. So what this would do would be an approval from the commission to host it in a specific facility. And then with that in hand, it would be going to the city to go through what their process is, both on a permitting and inspection standpoint, as well as a land use and any change of use and kind of working through the zoning. It practically, those are going to work in parallel, because if the Harness Racing Commission grants it and the city says, well, you can't do it because of zoning, the Harness Racing Commission approval doesn't really provide anything, because it's still obviously subject to those home rule provisions on land use.
Okay, thanks for spelling that out. All right, I'm still not entirely clear on whether it answers the Portland City Attorney's question, and I guess it's not necessarily my job to do the legal analysis, but I'm trying to, to figure that out, just out of respect for what they've raised. And my last question for you is about, or I have two more. What I've characterized as creating an ambiguity with regarding municipal approval. You have communicated that you would like to give municipalities a huge amount of deference in creating whatever kind of municipal approval process they would like to have. You indicated maybe a referendum, maybe a public hearing process, whatever. So how could you write that into the law to make that clear?
I would probably, candidly, I think it is clear. I have to come up with in order to do it, I have to show something. And certainly it could be that I have to do it to Mr. Jennings' satisfaction. But essentially have some, again, I don't know how, if the circle's broadened to Cumberland County a little more generally, I don't know how every municipal, and again, obviously, if I think Portland has a process. If I'm mistaken on that, with what the city attorney is saying, and a different municipality is the right location, they might have a different process. So I would probably say, municipal approval, subject to, Director Jennings' review or the executive director's review, to make sure that there is something there, because at that point, whether it's sufficient municipal approval, I think is really a town or city issue.
So I think if we are writing safeguard into statute, and if your communicated intent is to allow for the municipality to have deference to go about their process the way that they want it to, I think maybe one way to write it would be I'm trying to find the language now, but just to indicate that the process is one established by the municipality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly happy that something like that is certainly the intent. So I would be supportive of that, and certainly if if yourself or Karen or anyone else has language on what that looks like, I think we could work through something if that's the objective, because I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And my other question is, so the plan has always been to be in Cumberland short term, just for a few years temporarily. Okay. And would it ever make sense to I'm trying to think. So why be there temporarily? Why do you want to build a new one? Because you can have like a bigger facility, or?
Well, I mean, so the Cumberland Farmers Club, they're phenomenal to work with, but they are a nonprofit, and having a permanent commercial racetrack there is really not what that land's about, and setting aside any kind of land use issues with a larger commercial operation. But the reason for a new facility is really the opportunity to build things that can engage really a new generation of fans with the sport. One of the challenges I think over the years, has been the people who love harness racing will go and go to see harness racing, but a lot of people just don't get exposed to it. And I think I remember I'm 37, or I will be pretty soon. I remember, hearing stories of, from my folks and their friends in the late 80s, when they would all go on a Friday night to Scarborough Downs and have dinner in the clubhouse and have that exposure to the sport. And yeah, they put a couple bets down, have a nice dinner, have a nice time out. And I think, a new facility that puts a nice face on it. And again, and part of this too is not to build simply a track and call that the end all be all. We are talking with some outdoor events promoters, both in terms of sports and music and festivals and other things, and really use this as a multi-faceted entertainment place. But harness racing is really I think I said it on Tuesday, is really the horse that pulls the sled to the starting line. But I think, really from an economic opportunity standpoint, harness racing, I think, can be viable, done well. It can engage new fans and continue all the great things it's done for many years. I think it can, work to put eyeballs from around the world on Maine. And I think, again, it can be a large outdoor venue designed and operated well, that can really provide a lot of other opportunities to have, outdoor events.
Thank you. And for about a year now, I've heard conversation about it going to Saco. I think if I remember correctly, you've been in conversation with the folks that are past Aquabog, like there's that farm that goes back really far. Is that the property?
No, that's the Leary farm. No, and we did approach them, and Mr. Leary said that would be wonderful. I would love to have a new horse track. I'd love to get back into it. I guess he had horses back, back in the day. But that's not they weren't willing to part with that. So that's not a site that's viable. So we've looked a lot of places in Saco, places in Biddeford, some places further south. And there's a few different irons in the fire right now, and some of them I have confidentiality agreements with, so I can't speak to what the details of that are. But the intent is, to try to be along the Route 1 corridor I say south of Portland, really that's Scarborough, and obviously there's not really room for another horse track or a new horse track in Scarborough, so that leads it to York County. So, but we don't have a specific site dedicated, and again, similarly, whatever that site is and whatever municipality it is, it's still got to go through the full, not only municipal planning process, but then state and candidly, just given the scale, probably the Army Corps of Engineers at the federal level.
Representative O'Neill, I'll come back to you. There's a couple of hands up if you have more questions. Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've gone over this, quite a bit. Some of this has to deal with municipalities. I don't think we want to get into dictating to municipalities what they do or whatever. I think that Representative Pluker, it's been so long since he talked about an amendment. He had some kind of an amendment, friendly amendment that would go on the amendment I had. So at this time, I'd like to move ought to pass on the, make a motion ought to pass with the amended version that we have before us. And that would include Representative Pluker. I can't remember just what his amendment was, but I would like to move that this time.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Yeah, Representative Landry, seconded. All right. Okay, further discussion. Representative Underwood.
I wanted to propose the amendment, and Senator Black answered it, who sponsors it. And I was going to move to move to ought to pass. And I think this is a great amendment. I enjoy harness racing. I travel from the county to various places, and it's a viable option, and I will support it. Thank you.
Representative O'Neill, do you have more questions?
I do. Yeah, I mean, I think I posed a lot of legal questions that remain unanswered. For that reason, I don't feel like I can take a responsible yes vote. And I think just to share, feels kind of premature. Oh, sorry, I heard someone speak. It feels a little bit premature in the process for me to not know what I'm voting to support. The Leary property that Mr. Chinchett referenced is a mile from my house. This really affects my area potentially, and folks in my area have been really skeptical of, like maybe this project would be a great addition to a community. I'm not making a characterization about you, Mr. Chinchett, other than folks must know that we went through a difficult process in 2017 with a casino trying to be forced to our area. I'm a little bit cloudy on the history, and I've seen a history of folks coming in and asking for something special. I'm seeing it right now, so I feel uncomfortable on behalf of my community of what I'm opening the gate to. And yeah, I mean, I think something that's interesting is Mr. Chinchett happens to live in Cumberland, and I just wonder if folks there would want this kind of thing near them, or maybe they would have the same kind of concerns that I'm having. So And what I imagine is that they probably would. So I feel like I just really need a lot of legal and then also kind of facility kind of questions of what I'm opening the gate to with my vote. So for that reason, I will vote against it.
Representative Underwood.
Yes, may we take the vote, please? Mr. Chair,
Yep.
please? Appreciate
Just
it.
a second, we have more hands up. Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand Representative O'Neill's concern for her community, and I fully understand, her hesitation. But in all fairness to the harness racing, industry, which is broad in the state of Maine and covers many of our districts, and has much to do with our agricultural heritage and tradition, and and to our economy. Time is of the essence here, to get this up and going. I mean, yes, we're racing at Cumberland Fairgrounds, but that facility is not a permanent situation, and they need the added income to keep, as we heard, even with Scarborough Downs needed that extra income to run the races. I thought remembered hearing a figure that they subsidized the races $12,000 a race or something like that. I could be off, but to me, this is broader than just my community or anybody else's community. If it's your community, of course you're going to be very leery of something. But every place that these have, I mean, we have a racetrack in downtown Farmington. I mean, we have racetracks all, we have one in Bangor. We have these racetracks all over the state of Maine, and they are doing a great job, and people enjoy them. So I just wanted to state that in discussion.
Representative Hall.
Yes, thank you, Senator Dill. Expand upon what Senator Black has just said. There's a gentleman around I can't remember his name, but anyways, has done an extensive history on the racetracks in the state of Maine, and there's almost over 100 racetracks that there used to be. There was one in the town of Weld, up near where Representative Schofield is from. But just to answer Representative O'Neill's question and concerns just a little bit, the way I understood Mr. Chinchet to go through with his amendments and whatnot, before this track would ever be considered in any town, it would have to go through a public hearing and, pass all the ordinances or whatnot of any town. So, I mean, whatever town that's proposed to go into, that town will definitely have the opportunity to appeal it, or, to either say yes or no. So, I hope that helps answer your questions a little bit. Thanks.
All right. Seeing no other hands, would you call the roll, please, Cheryl?
Yes, I will. LD 1611 ought to pass as amended. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Maggie O'Neill.
No.
Representative Maggie O'Neill, no. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Lori Osher.
No.
Representative Lori Osher, no. Representative Joseph Underwood.
Yes.
Representative Joseph Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford.
Yes.
Representative Jeffrey Gifford, yes. Representative David McCray. Absent. Representative Susan Bernard. Absent.
I'm here.
Oh, I need to, there you go. Representative Susan Bernard.
Excuse me, yes.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes. 10 yes, to Representative O'Neill, what would your minority report be?
Ought not to pass.
Two ought not.
Representative Osher, is that yours as well?
Yes.
Two ought not to pass and one absent.
On LD 1611, an act to amend Maine's harness racing laws regarding race dates and parimutuel pools, ought to pass as amended. In favor 10, 2 opposed, and 1 absent. It passes. And with that, I will close the hearing on LD 1611. We still have several things before us, and the first thing is, I believe LD 574 was up for reconsideration. Karen, was that a motion to reconsider and then was tabled? So is it on the table, or did we just table it before we actually got the motion? Or had we reconsidered it and then tabled it?
I don't think we did not officially reconsider it.
Okay. So I will turn back to where it's up over here. Representative Osher, you voted on the prevailing side of ought not to pass on LD 574, and you wanted the vote to be reconsidered. Would you like to make that
yes.
motion to reconsider?
Yes, I make a motion to reconsider.
Is there a second?
Well, I wasn't on the prevailing side. I don't know if I can second it.
Yeah, you can. Seconding can be by anybody. The motion has to be by the prevailing side. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of reconsidering, just raise your hands. Okay, it's reconsidered. Representative Osher.
Give me this. Good. Yes, thank you. I'd like to change my vote to yes from no.
Okay,
So-
so go ahead, Karen.
I was going to say you just would make a new motion ought to pass as amended, although I see Representative Pluker's hand is up, so.
Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If it was all right with Representative Osher, I was going to slightly amend the existing amendment as we passed it last time, so that it did not include any definition of producer to consumer transaction. So it leaves that open to the towns setting up their own definition of what a producer consumer transaction is for themselves. They can allow farmers markets or not allowed farmers markets exactly as they desire. And then also making it clear, but leaving the way it was written in the initial amendment, which was dealing with subsection 415. I'm forgetting what title it was, but making it clear that the farmers markets have the ability to regulate themselves as they see fit. And I would make that my motion if that was all right. Yeah.
I second your motion.
Thank you, Representative Osher.
All right, so now we have a whole new amendment in front of us, a whole new bill. Could you let in Nancy McBrady, please? And Senator Hickman.
They are here.
All right. So I'll start with Director McBrady. I don't know if you heard the amendment, and what are the department's thoughts now on the amendment?
Thank you, everyone. My name is Nancy McBrady. I'm the Bureau Director of the Bureau of Agriculture, Food and Rural Resources. The department's position has not changed from our testimony and our discussion of last week. We still believe that there are concerns. We still have concerns relative to unlabeled food being able to be sold as unlicensed in farmers markets, and with the producer to consumer definition now being obliterated. So I'll just leave it there, but we stand in opposition, unfortunately, to this amendment.
Okay. Representative Pluker.
I just wanted to say I'm not sure the committee needs a lot more conversation on it, and I'm going to restrain myself from launching into another conversation. If the committee feels we need a full conversation, happy to go that way, but it feels like we've spent a lot of hours on this, and that wasn't my intent through bringing the new amendment and starting the conversation from scratch.
Okay. I will, though, since I asked Senator Hickman in, I will ask him for his comments. Brief comments, if he could, Senator. You're muted, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Craig Hickman here from Senate District 14, representing 11 towns in Southern Kennebec County. I think that on another committee that I serve, the Maine Municipal Association has made it clear that when the state defines something for the towns, that it whittles away at home rule authority. And so I just see the repeal of the definition as a way forward so that it's very clear in municipal government how they can define their own direct producer to consumer transactions if they go forward with an ordinance. And it clears up a lot of the conflicts out here on the ground between some lawyers saying that one version of an ordinance is valid or legal and another one is not. And so that is the reason for this particular amendment. And I think it's a housekeeping change and it's not major substantive. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for indulging me, Mr. Chair.
Sure, thank you. Okay, any final comments? Cheryl, please call the roll.
Did we have a motion?
Yes, it was ought to pass as amended by Representative Pluker, and I can't remember who seconded it, though.
Representative Osher.
Okay,
That's right.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Ought to pass as amended, 574. Senator James Dill.
No.
Senator James Dill, no. Senator Russell Black.
No.
Senator Russell Black, no. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Maggie O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Maggie O'Neill, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
No.
Representative Randall Hall, no. Representative Thomas Schofield.
No.
Representative Thomas Schofield, no. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
No.
Representative Joseph Underwood, no. Representative Scott Landry.
No.
Representative Scott Landry, no. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford.
No.
Representative Jeffrey Gifford, no. Representative David McCray, absent. Representative Susan Bernard.
No.
Representative Susan Bernard, no. 4 yes. 8 no, which would be ought not to pass, question mark.
Yes.
Okay. And 1 absent.
All right, so it's ought not to pass. Karen, do we have to flip flop it around or we just ask for the minority vote? Since we
I'm fine with, it appears that the minority report will be ought to pass as amended as moved, and the majority is ought not to pass.
Okay. All right, so we still have several things that Karen wants to do. One of the things I just want to come back to very, very briefly, and that is the Blueberry letter that we're sending forward. And I wanted to make sure everybody on the committee knows one of the things that we had talked also about as an option or as part of the package going to GOC, and it's certainly up to GOC to do whatever they want to do once it leaves here. But I think one of the things we had talked about was also just having the commission to go ahead and because it's a brand new commission, and I think we may have talked about this, Representative O'Neill kind of worded it in there, but one of the options certainly is that we just ask the commission to go forward with the new commission and report back to us next year. Now, I think, Representative O'Neill, that's where you were, but I just wanted to make sure that was one of the things that we had talked about earlier. So I just wanted to make sure that that was captured as part of what could go or would go forward to GOC. That so is that what I understood, Representative O'Neill, from what you were saying?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's helpful to have a report back to ACF as part of it.
Right. And so I mean, I know GOC will direct them in the way to go, but certainly we'd like to see the commission be able to function for a year too. Senator Black, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did, but Representative Neal in your comments both reiterated what I was going to say, that I was concerned that the commission was, the restructuring that we just did hadn't operated long enough to really define where, what was going to happen in the future. So they do have an annual, meeting this fall and could report back to us next year. That would be great. And that would be my recommendation to the other committee.
Great, thank you. So if you include that as, part of the letter, Karen, as you put it together.
Yeah, so the reporting back on the recent restructuring of the commission or on?
I think they need to report back, and I'm guessing GOC will probably do this, but this whole issue seems to be a broad issue, and we'd like to have them report back to them what has happened between us discussing it this year and as they move forward with whatever GOC does for them.
Yep.
I think as Representative O'Neill said, they'll probably instruct them to do certain things or suggest certain things for them to do. But one of those should be, let's make sure that the commission gets to function as they're supposed to for a year at least, or a year plus, to try to smooth out whatever's happening with advertising and the like. So, yeah.
Okay. Yes, I will be drafting that letter as soon as we finish, and I need to leave at 4 today because my son does not have a ride to lacrosse if I don't bring him. So please look for my email, Senator Dale and Representative O'Neill.
Will do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just to jump in as a point of clarification, I think a report back is great, but any kind of OPEGA work won't interfere with, it won't prevent the commission from doing its work. I just wanted to clarify that. So
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's meant to be helpful to the process rather than.
And I understand that. And I just want to make sure if they're listening to us out there that we're not trying to make it more difficult for them, but to try to be helpful to them.
Absolutely.
And you're absolutely right.
Yeah, we want to help the industry for sure.
All right, back to Karen. I think you said you had some language reviews for us, Karen.
I do. I just have one, but I do have a bunch of fiscal notes. I was going to share my screen for the language review. I'll do that right now. So this is actually a minority report, and I guess pre-pandemic, I would typically just come back, I guess what I'm trying to say is I would just ask the minority report folks if they were okay with the amendment, but this one is pretty evenly divided. Anyway, this is the committee amendment to LD 1549. So what the amendment does, it just increases the board by 2 members. So instead of 18, be 20 members. And the 2 new would be appointed by the Senate President. And the 2 members, one is a representative of a fisheries conservation organization with a statewide presence. So that was a suggestion made by Trout Unlimited. And then the other would be a representative of a statewide organization representing small woodland owners in the state. Any questions about that?
No, thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you. So the next thing I have is, and I sent you the link to the committee webpage. We got the fiscal note for the committee amendment to LD 1407. This was a unanimous ought to pass as amended report. It basically struck out the bill and replaced it with a resolve directing the director of the Maine Forest Service to convene a stakeholder group to review the current process in law about municipal proposals to adopt or amend a timber harvesting ordinance. So there is a fiscal note required. However, it says that it would be a minor cost increase to the general fund, and any additional costs to the department as a result of convening a stakeholder group are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. Any questions about that? Okay, the next one is LD 937. This was the resolve to facilitate the provision of incentives for soil carbon storage. And again, this was a unanimous, was it unanimous? Yes. Ought to pass as amended report, and there is a fiscal note required. Again, it says any additional costs to the Department of ACF or Department of IF&W as a result of the provisions of the resolve are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existed budgeted resources. So this just directs those two departments to develop recommendations for the establishment of programs and policies to promote and incentivize practices that increase sequestration of soil carbon on natural and working lands by farmers, landowners, and land managers. Any questions? Okay. The next one is LD 630, cider. So that amendment was also unanimous, ought to pass as amended. Provides that any product that has been heat treated may not be labeled as cider. And then it also clarifies that all hard cider that contains not less than half of 1% alcohol by volume is not subject to the labeling requirements for cider. And there is a fiscal note required on this amendment. Again, it's the same, same kind of amendment. Any additional costs or any same kind of fiscal note, any costs to the department as a result of the changes to the definition of cider and labeling requirements for hard cider are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. Any questions about that one? Okay. The next one I have is the fiscal note for LD 954, an act to provide equal access to the benefits of the Maine Food Sovereignty Act. This is Senator Kimes' bill. There is a fiscal note required. Again, any additional cost to the department as a result of adding plantations in unorganized territories to the entities that may adopt and enact ordinances in accordance with the Maine Food Sovereignty Act are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. And the last one that I have is LD 1159. This was a divided report. So this is the majority report was ought to pass as amended. The minority report was ought not to pass. This is an act to amend the membership requirements of the Board of Pesticides Control. There is a fiscal note required. Any additional costs to the board within the Department of ACF as a result of changes to the requirements for membership are anticipated to be minor, and you know the rest. That's all I have.
Any questions for Karen? Anything else, Karen or Linda? I mean, Cheryl? I keep calling you Linda. You're looking right at your name. Cheryl.
So it looks like the committee will be meeting at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. We'll have work sessions on 1690, 808, and 1594. And hopefully some more language and fiscal note review.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Representative Landry, seconded by Representative Pluker. Raise your hands. Thank you all. See you Tuesday.
Karen, do you need anything more from me? Oh no, she gone.
Sorry.